the TFNB Your Bank for Life studio. Now, it's time for the Smoak Show. Presented by Texas Farm Bureau Insurance. We are Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, your insurance provider built by Texans for Texans. And we've been protecting families in our great state since 1952. TFNB, your bank for life, serving Central Texans since 1889. It's time for the Smoak Show on 365 Sports with David Craig and Craig Smoak.
Is out today. He's going to be doing a lot of Friday solo with me having high school football. Now, next week, I'll have high school football in Belton as Midway will open up against Rouse High School. So I'll be here next Friday. But after that, I'll have a ton of Friday games, high school football, Class 6A in the state of Texas. So he'll be back with me on Monday. Another one of those days in college athletics. We're going to get to that. We have the head football coach at Abilene Christian, Keith Patterson, today. Kevin Feit, who is the athletic director at Eastern New Mexico University. He will join us today. We'll have Zach Barnett, footballscoop.com. And then also today, we will have at 5 o'clock, Tony Caridi, voice of West Virginia athletics. Okay, hold on. So first of all, here we go. This is, I got this in the mail. There it is. K-State from Kenny, my man Kenny. And voila, yet another one of our helmets for the studio. K-State Wildcats now represented here on our set. And I think we have 10. We can put up maybe 5, 6, 8, whatever. But we have 10. No, we have, 10. TCU I'm going to pick up when I get up to Fort Worth in a couple of weeks for a high school game. We need Cincinnati. And we need the 4 former Pac-12 schools, Utah, Colorado, Arizona, and Arizona State. So I feel good about that, feel really good about where we are, and thanks to Kenny and the great, just a great group. We've had a lot of access to Kansas State. I'm sure Bracket Cat, there you go, there it is, Kansas State. So the last 2 that we've received, we have Baylor that came in. They gave that to us, and a little note about their uniforms when they play Colorado. KU, Kansas State, and of course, if you look at the wide shot, there's Tech on the set. Iowa State, BYU too, and the Matt Rule autographed Nebraska helmet. I'm getting ready to break up with him, though. We have not had Matt on in a long time, and it's too long. And so I'm sending him a text to Flair. I know that they've tried to work something out. We will get something, and there's the 3 of them right there together. All right, so again, Coach Patterson at 3:40. We'll have Kevin Feit from Eastern New Mexico University, the AD, at 4. Zach Barnett will join us today at 5 o'clock. And then Tony Caridi will join us on West Virginia here. I got to get his promo up. Let me see. Where is he? Where's Tony Caridi? Tony Caridi. There it is. Tony Caridi will be at 5 o'clock. Garrett Ross and Rez, Michelangelo Flores are running the mothership. I brought them a little bit of something if they want to snack on it. I try to do that, especially on Fridays. For some reason, on Fridays, I don't eat much. I like to look up and I run. I ran my 4 miles this morning, hot as hell, muggy as hell, sweaty as hell. Then I get back and I kind of unwind a little bit and do a lot of work getting ready for the show. So here we go. Another ruling in college football. Another ruling in college football. The 10th Circuit has granted the NCAA in the ruling by Judge Sweeney in Colorado. Remember that one that sent everybody on its ear a couple of Fridays ago. It now has given the NCAA a stay, which means the qualifying class of 2022, which Judge Sweeney said was free to go back and get an extra year, it now loses its federal 5th season protection, at least for now. Now, there's a lot of that legal stuff in there. Now, listen, what does all this mean? And I did reach out to my friend Sam Ehrlich and other sports information directors to kind of get an idea. Austin Massey, who's the one who had that, does a great job covering the legal parts of everything. It's so many guys now, men and women. Amanda Kristovich, of course, is amazing. The irony here, Austin Massey writes this: The irony here is hard to miss. The NCAA just won a huge victory by getting the nationwide injunction stayed. But that could now trigger an even more fragmented wave of litigation. Of course it will. Class of 2022 athletes now turning to the state courts for relief. Different judges, different state law claims, different injunction standards, potentially conflicting rulings for what might happen in Arizona compared to what might happen in Ohio, compared to what might happen in Washington or maybe in Georgia. So there we are with that. I reached out, by the way, to I sent Brent Ingram at Baylor a note. I said, hey, your defensive tackle who played at Indiana, who was just cleared recently, does this affect him? The answer is no, because he had his own. So any athletes that got an extra year who had their own, like basically their own case, this does not affect them. Affects a lot of people. I'll give you an example. Texas Tech men's basketball. Remember, they had Darian Williams and Jamichael Stillwell back to play this year. They are still eligible based no matter what the ruling was today. They earned their injunction in other areas. Meanwhile, Donovan Atwell, good player, really good player, he now no longer, at least at this time, has eligibility to play for Texas Tech. Stay tuned for that. Couple of other notes. Darren Heitner, who had a bunch of clients in the class of 2022. While the NCAA may be celebrating the appeal decision in Colorado, more state court judges are ruling for the named plaintiffs. The Colorado case is based on an antitrust claim. The state court cases primarily revolve around athletes being third-party beneficiaries and the NCAA's arbitrary application of its rules. I will continue, he's an attorney for many of them, to work with the class of 2022 players who wish to file now in state court. Sam Ehrlich sent this to me. Now the question is, or he put this up on his Twitter feed, do we see an absolute flood of new state lawsuits? I've been saying that, right? Here we go. Who were previously covered by this injunction? And the in parentheses, probably yes. I sent Sam a note that said, I tried to get him on just for a quick hit. He didn't have time. He just couldn't do it. But here's what he said. I said, the ones who got an extra year under the Colorado injunction from Judge Sweeney are now ineligible, correct? They will have to get their own appeal to a state court, whatever. And he said, correct. If they're just covered under Colorado, they're, as of this morning, out of luck. If they have their own injunction in state court, they still have the layer of protection, unless, of course, it's Ohio, which is also stayed. So there we are with some of the legal. Now, one more note. This has nothing to do with really, I don't know if it does or not, to be honest with you, but I want to bring this up. Tom Mars, another attorney, a legal mind that has been involved in a lot of this, and I've picked his brain a couple of times. So he's talking about the kid from, what was it? Is it Ole Miss or LSU that got, in Louisiana, got a temporary restraining order. But here's what he said. I have two questions on this. One, how did Wright, and Garrett, I don't know if that's the LSU or Ole Miss, one of the two. How did Wright enter the transfer portal without being enrolled as a student? How did he enter the transfer? You have to be a student, athlete. How did he enroll and enter the transfer portal without even being enrolled as a student somewhere? Number two, he couldn't access the portal without a school entering his name in the system. So who did that? It's a great question. I don't know what ends up with that. And then he said this, and this is, of course, so many different, I cannot wait until the day a college football player, think about this, I cannot wait until the day a college football player plays for two teams in the same season, because the lawyers who are making millions off of these cases, maybe it will change to being normal again. You think that might happen? We now see players that are at NFL training camps. They've played in preseason games. Of course, basketball, there were the two cases, Alabama and Baylor. So there we are with that. We're going to jump over the Rich Rodriguez audio video rest and get to a couple of things when it comes to uniforms and honoring, and a really funny response from Cam Coleman, Texas wide receiver, about Austin, Texas in a minute. Here, in fact, Baylor, and I think Baylor fans would agree with me this. I've covered them. Obviously, we have spread our wings and cover everybody in the Big 12, but we're located. We're a mile and a half from the campus. But Baylor has been through the ups and downs of the uniforms. Back when they were winning those championships in the Big 12 and playing for big boy games, the RG3 year, they had the kind of a traditional uniform. Then they went to the black, the matted color. They had then the chrome helmets that were somewhat, I think, and a lot of times fans get like really sensitive if I don't see the, like Notre Dame has chrome. Some schools have like the chrome helmet. There has been arguments over what color. Gold, is it yellow? And Javon Overshone, who I think does a great job at Baylor, she, of course, is involved in a lot of when they rebranded. Now, I've got to tell you, when I saw the uniforms that were rebranded, there were some that didn't like them. It was almost a little bit like the Pittsburgh Steelers, but without, it was green, not black, or some, there were, that not everybody liked them, but not everybody's going to like anything, like even this show. But please don't do that to me going into a weekend. You'll break my heart. But here is what Baylor released last night. They have a game against Colorado at the end of September, which is the throwback game. So they unveiled and released that last night. Doug McNamee, of course, the new director of athletics since late last year. They're trying to get some things done, to get through some, at times, decisions that either have been liked or not. But here's what I did. The uniforms, I'm not a Baylor grad. I'm not an alum. I've covered them. Nobody in my family no one has ever been to Baylor or anything like that. There's some kids, athletes that have played in high school that I've gotten to know, and when I covered them, I got to know them. That was my job. But when I heard Grant Taft and saw the great Grant Taft in his 90s, first ever guest we had in the studio back when we opened it up in September, I think, of 2020, I love that man. And so when I heard his voice and kind of him in the locker room, I was like, no matter what, I mean, you got me. So if you like him, great. If you don't, okay, this is for the Colorado game, and some fans are going to not like him, and there's going to be a bunch that go, hell, wear those every week. So there we are, that game with Colorado at the end of September. UCF, we've had their director of athletics, Terry Mohajir, on with us a few times. And I know that they were just so thrilled and proud of what they were trying to do with the Roth Tower at the bounce house. Here is some video. I don't think there's audio other than just the video, but they finally were able, and it is now ready to rock at the Acrisure Bounce House. Fans can expect to have the ability to enjoy being outside and still have shade, 28 luxury suites, 34 outdoor sky suites, club seats, more. And they were able to show that, the tower, the Roth Tower. Good job by USF, good job by Terry Mohajir. Said it was all designed to make UCF a destination, not just on Saturdays, but also on other days during the week. And so those are some of the pictures. And so there we are celebrating the reopening of the Roth Tower. Good job to UCF. Well done. and enjoy Texas A&M's R.C. Slocum. Remember, he became an AD one time when the AD was moved on. This is one of the nicest gentlemen that I've ever met when it comes to coaches. This is a Bill Snyder-like man. It all depends. I could name a bunch of other coaches, but Texas A&M will unveil a statue of R.C. Slocum in their game, the first game in September. Well-deserved, winningest coach in A&M history. He had a run there where he was beating Texas, playing and winning Southwest Conference championships. He is a phenomenal man. There's also going to be a luncheon at some point that's put on by the Texas Sports Hall of Fame that they're going to have like an R.C. Slocum luncheon. So this guy, he's the one that like bleeds the maroon, and a phenomenal gentleman. It's September 4th. They'll do it at the north end of Kyle Field beside what is the All-American Tire. So the All-American, Towers. Good job with A&M getting R.C. Slocum that statue. How about this helmet? Boise State. They are going to open up the year. Their first home game is going to be against Memphis. This is a 40th hand-painted 40th anniversary football helmet for their home opener against Memphis. Man, when I saw that, I was like, wow. And that's what they're going to have. That's what they're going to play. Hand-painted Boise State with those helmets in that game when they open up at home, their home opener against the Memphis Tigers. All right, Cam Coleman, great player. Auburn transferred to Texas. One of, if not, it's argued, who was the number one player in the portal. When it came to wide receivers, Cam Coleman was at the top of the list and committed and has now been at Austin, in Austin. Here's a note. When he was asked, Cam Coleman, about the biggest challenge since coming to Austin, here is his quote. I'm going to say it again. Traffic. It just gets worse every day. Now, this isn't a challenge about playing at UT. He can play anywhere. Playing in the SEC, he can play anywhere. He's a phenomenal player. There was that video about 2.5 weeks ago about a pass during practice when he went up. He was kind of behind him as he's going this way, and he grabbed it with one hand and brought it in. He can go up, and he's a tremendous talent. Now, I don't know how many of you have ever been through Austin, Texas. Austin's got a lot of really fantastic. I mean, it is huge. Right there, hour 80 miles or so, I think it is, maybe less, from where we are, in between Waco and San Antonio. But their traffic, with especially I-35 right down the middle, they've added mix masters. They have a loop outside of Austin that seems like you're about 20 miles away, but I get on it because you can go as fast as you want. It's like an Autobahn. But man, is he right about that. Austin traffic is like a lot of places. Hey, I'm not saying it's not like that when they're doing construction in Waco or on a Friday evening, like in an hour or two. It's going to be hell because of the way that the I-35 runs right through the spine. But Cam Coleman, with that, I'm going to say again, traffic, it gets worse every day. Hard to imagine it can be. All right, we go from Texas to OU. Yesterday, remember the story, Brent Venables got the extension right before the season begins. And Craig, when he was here, Craig's an OU fan. Loves the Sooners. Ever since he could understand what football is. Yeah, I lost that battle of favorite teams with Oklahoma to his mom and Nebraska, although he loved the Huskers. He'd love to see them do well. Roger Denny, the AD, George Stoya from Soonerscoop.com. I asked Roger Denny why he decided to give Venables an extension right before the season. His quote was, "We've seen what our team is capable of under Brent's leadership, and that's what we're investing in. I don't need to see this season to know what we've got." Now, there was some discussion, and my thing was, he had a contract, I think it's through 2029. Why now? Well, I mean, you saw, there's his quote. But I also was like, but aren't you bidding against yourself? Aren't you like, let's say he takes Oklahoma and they go 13-3, or they play and win a national. He's not leaving OU. I know that he has the connection from the years he was at Clemson. Dabo, of course, let's just say that continues to just be okay or a little bit above average, but he's not leaving OU. I don't understand the extension. I don't understand more money. God bless Brent Venables, because I know there are still fans, OU fans, like him because he's one of them when he was a part of that defense that won a national title with Stoops. But I still don't understand why, because it's like, okay, but what if they just fall apart this year? Well, here's also what he said. Roger Denny on Venables' buyout, which we won't find out until the contract is approved by the Board of Regents. What is the buyout? So Denny said this about, we're in this place in our industry where literally the second we come out and demonstrate a commitment to a coach, everyone wants to know what it costs to fire him. Very, very true. What are we doing? If that was on our mind, we wouldn't be signing this contract. Now, that's true, but a 6-7 or a 5-7, believe me, it can get a little bit ugly in Norman, just like it would be in a lot of different places. But we wouldn't be doing this if we thought, or if that buyout opportunity, whatever, and again, they'll get the information sometime with the Board of Regents, we wouldn't even be thinking about it, or we aren't thinking about it. But that doesn't mean you won't be. So why extend a contract, especially when he finally got to a point where last year they had a good year, then they got beat at home by Alabama when Material threw that pick six. It turned everything around. Alabama with a nice win. But I still don't understand. I'm just looking at it as a business person. I don't think Venables had other people nibbling. If he did, fine. But not just now average $10 million, $10.5 million a year. If you're an OU fan and you're in the chat, let me know, because I know we got some that are watching and do every day. But let me know why. What was your thought when you first saw this story? Because mine was, why? Do you have to? I mean, were you forced into this? Venables didn't have anything like it. This isn't like earlier this year when Kalani Sitake was talking to Penn State and that thing got a little bit dicey. So, okay, but let's say they go deep, 2, 3, 4 rounds. Let's say OU, they've won a few national titles, although not since 2000. And the last one before that, well, they had a couple in the, they had that one with Switzer in the 80s. They've won national titles. But well, then you do, I thought it was a little bit premature. All right. What is it? 3:23. Got time for this. And I have not been able to get into the chat room. I will, and try to figure out who hasn't taken their medicine, or who has been maybe starting the weekend early. I'm going to get to you guys. I will, and women. There is, and there was before, when the Big 12 had to add new teams after they brought in UCF, Cincinnati, Houston, and BYU. And then, of course, they needed to, gain more traction. There was the Pac-12 and their commissioner, Kliavkoff. And the Pac-12 probably had a little bit of an edge at the time, and Kliavkoff said, yeah, we're not going to expand. Then the Big 12 launched into, well, we're going to do something about it. We're going to expand again. And that's when you had Arizona, Arizona State, Colorado, and Utah. I think it's fair to say Colorado was cool with it. I think it's fair to say, even though there was some, the president at Arizona State was grumbling. Arizona, I think, probably would, I think all of them would rather have the Pac-12 stayed together, but they had just lost USC, UCLA, Washington, Oregon. They're falling apart. And there's no doubt Utah, we had their AD on. He was great. Mark Harlan, he was great at Big 12 Media Days. But there's still that feeling, and I see it, a little bit of it is a little bit of false bravado. Some of it is, no, people really think that Utah can go anywhere, anytime, at any day. But there is still that Utah, and the way they, not everyone, because I had an argument yesterday in the chat about, what do you mean by everyone? Everyone means everyone. That means there's nobody that's just the other way. Everyone means everyone. Like right now here in the studio, everyone, there's only 3 of us in the studio today at this time, Garrett, Rez, and me. Craig's out until Monday. that everyone would be three of us. But let's say one of us wasn't a part of the same opinion, and it's not everyone. So Utah fans have been kind of kicking and scratching, and I think Utah's really good. I love what Whittingham was doing. And I hope Scally has great success. But there is a little bit of this. There's a little bit of an edge with part of the fan base that thinks that they're better than everybody else. And they had really nice success later in the years in the Pac-12. Wild Ute. This guy's a huge Utah fan. So first of all, that I see sometimes him put things up, and I respond. I'm not just burning him. I'm not burning him at all. I've seen him put things up about the Big 12 this and the Big 12 that and the Big 12 this. And hey, there's things the Big 12 has done that I don't agree with some of them, the decisions or whatever they do. But look at what he said here. And I actually responded to him. The Wild Ute said this. The Big 12 buried the Holy War. Utah versus BYU under this monster, uses the word monster, although we know that that's a sponsor, but he didn't mean it, slate. You look at that slate, those are the games, the weekend of 11/7, November 7th, when BYU and Utah will play their Holy War. There's also a weekend where there's the rivalry weekend. All right, but here are the games. There's some good ones. Oregon, Ohio State, man, that could be still 1-2 when they play that game. They got some games to win, though. Georgia and Ole Miss at 9. Texas and Missouri. Top 25 team, will they still be there? Will Texas be higher or still hanging around inside the top 10? Miami, Notre Dame brings back the convicts and the Catholics. Could be a banger. Alabama, LSU, always a banger. Then you have the game at the bottom, Penn State, Washington, with Matt Campbell trying to get Penn State back on track, and, of course, Jedfish and the Huskies. And then there you have BYU and Utah. If they take care of their business, and BYU does have Notre Dame, and eventually there's other games that they have to take care of, and Utah's got their schedule. So go back to the tweet, Rez, if you don't mind. Buried the Holy War, Utah, BYU, under this monster slate. So I have a question for Professor Wild Ute. Why do you want to dodge that weekend? Why do you want to play that game somewhere else? My God, one of the things that the Big 12 has to do, and I'm not going to stop being scared of playing games like this against other teams that have big games, no matter the ratings, the viewership of what the SEC or the Big 10 get. Play that damn game that weekend, and hopefully those two teams are higher, and it's even a better game. But buried that game? No, they didn't. That's a freaking great weekend of college football. Man, embrace the fact that you're a part of that weekend if you're a Utah or BYU fan. The Holy War is a badass game. More intense than I ever thought it was, and really have learned that, of course, now when BYU and then Utah joined the Big 12. You do that when you start to – I watched that game before. Man, that's intense. There's a lot of But buried it? Why the hell? So you want all those other big boy games and you want the Big 12, with all due respect, you want that game to be like Baylor and UCF? Freaking embrace it. Enjoy it. Damn, that's awesome that they're a part of that same schedule. Now, those numbers on the to the left and of each team, I don't know where they're going to be. Maybe they're even 8 against 12. I don't know. And that's November, so you're talking 7, 8 games into the season, right? So you want to put it in the rivalry weekend? Well, you think rivalry weekend won't have some bangers? Are you kidding me? That's when you have traditional bangers, like states against states or schools in the same state. Play that game, embrace that damn game, and stop hiding from under a big, huge meteor that's about to drop on your head, and stop blaming the Big 12 for everything. Damn it, you guys would be where without that invitation? And don't tell me you'd be a part of the Big 10. And Utah fans, I really like a ton of you. The media's great. Whittingham has been great when we've had him on. Some of the players, I think Dan Pierre is fantastic. Scally's going to do well. But stop blaming everything. Don't blame, you're going to blame your golf game that sucks with a 22 handicap on the Big 12? Are you going to blame the fact that your beer's cold, then too warm? If you drink beer because of the big, stop. And I had to put this up today, and I did respond to him. I wish I could find it, but basically my response was, why act this way? Embrace it. And then there's a couple of people that think he's right, and there's a few, it's okay, that's what Twitter's about. But Utah fans, I'm glad you're a part of the Big 12. Not everybody is. And there's probably a percentage that's really not happy because they always felt like you didn't want to be a part of the Big 12. I say you. I mean specific. I don't think Utah did. But guess what? When we had Mark Harlan on and he discussed the lead up to them accepting the invitation and the conversations he had with then Baylor AD deep into the night, and they were deep into the night, multiple nights in a row before they pulled the trigger on that Friday in July of whenever it was. Man, I'm glad you're a part of the conference. You make the conference better. You're good. Now be better. Now get better, and this game might put you in a position, who knows. But stop blaming every damn thing on everything you want because some of you thought you were going to be a part of the Big Ten. Stop. No matter what speculation, no matter what you were told, stop. And stop blaming the schedule on the Big. Now, the Big 12 does set the schedule, but take this weekend and embrace it. Like, man, embrace it. And maybe the Big 12, those other games might get more viewers. I don't know. If BYU and Utah take care of their business and they meet later on, could be a bang. It's a banger no matter what because of the rivalry. It's going to be a banger because you hope both of them are ranked still in the top 25, if not higher. But I had to say that, and I just don't understand. Buried this holy war. It's the freaking holy war. I would use maybe another word, but it's holy war. They didn't bury it. They said, screw it. They don't know what the other conferences might be doing at the same time. They're putting their schedules together. Embrace it, play it, be good, and stop bitching about everything because some of you don't like being a part of the Big 12. Where else would you be? And don't lie to yourself. Look in the mirror. It would not be anywhere else other than the Big 12. Down the road, who knows? When we come back, Keith Patterson's the head coach at Abilene Christian. They took Texas Tech all the way to the end last year. They have that game to start off with, Abilene Christian. I remember when I was at Stephen F. Austin, Abilene Christian, East Texas State University. Obviously, it was Sam Houston, which is now, of course, Sam Houston State, Sam Houston, Stephen F. Austin, and some other schools that were a part of the Lone Star, Texas A&I, back when Darrell Green and some of the great Hall of Famers were there, when that conference was Southwest Texas State, now Texas State. That was the conference. There were some fantastic teams, and Abilene Christian was one. They had a quarterback prophet that put up big numbers, and Keith Patterson's the head coach. We're going to talk to him next. Then later on today, Kevin Feit, the AD at Eastern New Mexico, who was quoted quite a bit in that article from Brett McMurphy about the Art Briles opportunity in New Mexico. And then also we'll have, at 4:30, Zach Barnett. And then following that, we're going to have Tony Caridi, the voice of West Virginia, at 5 o'clock. Man, I'm happy you're here. Craig will be back Monday. Giving him one more Friday before he's going to be working a lot of Fridays. Well, we should be because it's football season, but also solo at times because I'll be out a bunch of Fridays starting in a couple of weeks. Next week I'll be here. I have a high school game on a Thursday. Thank you very much for your time. This is 365 Sports. Petty Clinic, LowT.com. Dr. Kent Petty can help you become the high-performance man that you want to be, need to be, and used to be. As you get older, upper 30s, in the 40s, maybe it doesn't happen until you're in the late 40s, early 50s, your testosterone level inside of your body can fluctuate. It can drop. Sometimes it's a little bit, you're fine. Sometimes enough to where you don't have that same energy. Your sex drive is different. You've lost it. Or if you have it, you've lost something else. If you know what I mean. It happens. It happens. and then maybe it even your sleep habits, but something's missing. Contact Dr. Petty, pettyclinicalot.com, and tell him I sent you. Tell him that you're not sure if there's anything that is wrong or low with your low T or your T level, but you'd like to know. He will set you up and take care of an appointment for you to get your blood work drawn. He gets the results, looks at them, and if your T level's too low, well, he can give you the option, give you a program. And that allows you to then become the high-performance man that you want to be, need to be, and used to be again at pettyclinicalot.com.
Broker is your Lennox Premier dealer. Right now, qualified buyers can make no payments and get no interest financing for 12 months on a new Lennox home comfort system. Conditions apply. Call Ray Broker Air Conditioning and Heating Specialists for details and a free estimate.
Make this the summer event at Allen Samuels in Waco. Drive a 2026 Ram 1500 Limited Crew Cab with your choice. 0% for 36 months or 25% off MSRP. See why it was named to Car and Driver's Best 10 Trucks and SUVs list. And it comes with America's Best Truck Powertrain Warranty, 10 years, 100,000 miles.
Come by, let's be friends.
Bold are the adventurous. Determined are the leaders. Faithful are the healers. At Baylor, you'll find your calling, your people, and your purpose. Dare to be you, indeed.
It's time to compete against yourself, finding too many excuses not to work out combined with bad eating habits, and Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness can help reach inside your competitive soul. Discipline, getting results you've only dreamed about, personal training, group exercise classes, and even a tanning bed, world-class tennis facility, and pickleball courts and lessons available. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness, spacious, clean workout rooms, free weights, state-of-the-art technology, weight training equipment, and no intimidation. It's time for you to react today, not tomorrow, at Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness on Lakeshore Drive in Waco.
Serving Central Texas since 1889, TFNB, your bank for life, takes pride in being more than a bank. TFNB, we remain committed to these principles. If you value them too, come join us. TFNB, your bank for life.
This 3 o'clock hour is brought to you by QC Kinetics. Feel better, move better, live better with regenerative medicine using your body's own healing abilities for natural pain relief. No surgery, no drugs, no downtime. With locations in Dallas and Houston at QCkinetics.com. It's time for the Smoak Show on 365 Sports with Craig Smoak and David Smoak.
Keith Patterson, the head coach at Abilene Christian University. He is, by the way, an East Central graduate and played defensive back in his college days. He's been around a lot of places. He even had a little stop at Allen High School, which is as big as a university, for a little bit. And he's been at Tulsa, Pittsburgh, Arkansas State, West Virginia, Arizona State, Utah State, Texas Tech, and now at Abilene Christian since 2022. Keith, good to see you. Thanks for your time. Am I interrupting the film session?
You know what? They're going on well without me.
Well, that's a credit to your coaching staff and you that they can just kind of go into like, everything's good, coach. We got it.
That's exactly right. You know, I got a great coaching staff, so I got great confidence in those guys. You
opened with Lamar. The Cardinals, and they were pretty good last year. Obviously, you have big goals with where you are at Abilene Christian and part of the UAC conference. Who are you right now? What are you? What's your personality? Or can you tell at this particular time? You know, it's hard to tell. We've been banging on each other for 3.5 weeks. The kids are ready to get into the game week, but we got one more scrimmage tomorrow, and then it's really hard to tell, but I know this. I'm very confident in our offensive line. We got 4 running backs that I feel
There's absolutely zero drop off in any of those guys. Our tight end room is as deep as any tight end room that I've ever been a part of. We got three that are exceptional, and we have a couple of guys that are right behind those guys. So I feel really good about our football team and where we are. And really, the biggest question for me is probably just I trying to find that identity defensively.
Okay, so what do you want it to be?
Well, we love to play an attacking, aggressive style, but we're also we lost so much experience off last year's defense, not only through graduation, but obviously we lose our best players every single year. So we just kind of, with the nature of college football, we just try to replace those guys. And I don't know if we really will know what we have until we get out there and start competing.
So how much does and even a ruling that came down today that went with the 10th Circuit Court on the Colorado ruling, how much do you get affected by the portal, Keith?
You know what? I mean, it's just become a part of it. Everyone's a junior college, especially at this level. If you have any success at all, I was caught off guard at the year we played North Dakota State 2 years ago. On Monday after that game, I had 12 people walk in my office and get in the portal on that Monday. And we didn't even celebrate, the year that we had or the run we made. And it is really kind of sad. But I just wasn't caught off guard nearly as bad a year ago. But still, when you lose 4 or 5 seniors and then you lose 4 guys on defense to the portal, you're right back to square one. And it's year 5 of our program, but we probably have we just don't have a lot of experienced players on our defensive side of the ball. We got talent, we have good players, but just trying to mold those guys into because you really don't know how they're going to handle the game pressure and things like that. So we're trying to just keep it simple and let those guys play and make plays.
Do you even sometimes forget who's in your conference with all the changes? I know you're now in the United Athletic Conference. I know you were in the WAC for a long time. Abilene Christian, I know about the history. I was a Stephen F. Austin graduate, but a long time ago. And I was mentioning the Lone Star Conference and some of that. But do you sometimes even yourself wonder who's in various conferences?
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, just everything is fluid. I mean, from who can transfer, who can't transfer, who can play. I mean, I just have, I don't know. I never really anticipated anything like this. But at the end of the day, you have to adapt or die. And there's just a lot more adapting nowadays than ever before in college football. So I don't really worry about that. Yes, I would love to play regional. I mean, the old Lone Star Conference, I wish somehow, some way that we could bring that thing back. Like you say, the players that went through that league, from Darrell Green to Wilbur Montgomery there's been some absolutely incredible football players over the years played through that conference. But, I do love the United Athletic Conference. It's basically, in my opinion, the SEC of FCS football, with teams from Georgia, Florida, Alabama, Tennessee, Kentucky, Arkansas, Texas. So, it's a highly competitive league from top to bottom. Anyone can win it.
Yeah, I saw that game with North Dakota State. It was a high-scoring game, 51-31. Then last year, SFA knocked you out, and they were really good with Colby, what he had. You had beaten him earlier in the year. You played 14 games last year, right? You were 9-5?
Yes, sir.
When you see now the FBS schools, when they are now in this playoff that is right now 12 teams, when you see coaches start to go, man, that's a long season, levels like what FCS, Division II, Division III, you've been doing that forever. You played in it like that forever. Do you kind of get a chuckle out of that?
I do. I like, what's the difference in their players and ours? I mean, our guys are going to school. Our guys have the same problems that their player. I don't understand that at all. I mean, it works in Texas high school football. It works in the NFL. It works in FCS level. I don't know what the hang up is with that. And I love the 24. I mean, hey, the top 8 teams get a bye. The next 16 teams go and play week 1, and you leave no doubt, and you have the true national champion.
2 years ago, you played Texas Tech. I earlier had said it was last year. You guys had TCU on your schedule. But 2 years ago, my God, it went down to the wire. 52-51 in overtime. How much did you get juice out of that for your program, despite obviously you could have won the game too? How much juice do you get out of that?
Yeah, I think our alumni are still talking about it. Corey, it's probably the number one question I get asked is, hey, why'd you go for two? But come on, we're playing Texas Tech from the Big 12 at their place. I mean, we score and have a chance to win it in overtime, and just didn't execute. But at the end of the day, we gained a lot of confidence from that game. I mean, as you know, I have so many players from Texas Tech. Joey is in constant communication. Just, hey, this kid right here is getting ready to leave the program. And I think at that time, we probably had 15, 16 players on our roster that were former Texas Tech players. Now we probably have close to 8 to 10 on our roster from Texas Tech. So our kids are just very familiar, but, they're a different animal now. I mean, the whole NIL and what they're doing with their program and the facilities that they have built, we're not going to fly under the radar, I don't think, when we show up here in a week or so.
Yeah, McIver had a hell of a game that day.
Yeah.
That's
right.
Oh, my Lord.
Every single one of our players, Trey Cleveland, I think, had 8 receptions. Jed Castles had a big game. Nehemiah Martinez had a big game. Obviously, Maverick played extremely well. And then, I don't know. It's like I said, it's a different animal over there now.
Earlier this summer, that Joey and Sark got into a little bit of spat about whether they would play, and he even said, well, I get Abilene Christian to change, and they were talking to GJ at Texas, and I don't even know, we had GJ on, we've had him on too. What were you thinking when you heard some of that go, and was there really ever truly any conversation about moving things?
But Joey brought it to my attention, and I just said, okay, if the buyout's $1 million, I will do that today. If you'll pay me $1 million not to play, then I'll go get GJ to see if he'll play me $500,000 to come play them. I'm all in. So if you get that done, I'm all in.
You played at you coached at Pittsburgh. You've been to West Virginia, so you know about that rivalry. You have been in a lot of places, Keith. How do you have a little bit of that in every little piece of blood from everywhere you've been in your coaching DNA?
I think so. I think, and it was not by design. Obviously, it just kind of worked out. It's one of those, when you have success, you get new jobs or get new opportunities. When you don't have success, you're looking for jobs. So it was. I never set out wanting to travel all over the country, but I wouldn't go back and trade it for anything. All those experiences, being at the University of Pittsburgh and being able to be around Dick LeBeau was just absolutely, and this Pittsburgh Steelers organization, which is just incredibly, be at West Virginia, and I went there because just had joined the Big 12. So that was a great experience. And obviously one of my favorite stops was coaching in Lubbock at Texas Tech. My wife and I made so many friends in Lubbock. So I wouldn't trade any of those experiences. Had a great experience at the University of Tulsa. 6 bowl games and conference championships. So all those experiences have just kind of helped mold my wife and I into who we are.
Keith Patterson's the head coach at Abilene Christian. Lamar to open up, and then they have the game against Texas Tech. Wait a minute, West Virginia. They just joined the Big 12. Geno Smith? Yeah. And my God, the game against Baylor that was 70-63. I remember Phil Bennett. He came in that year, and he just told me sometimes you just can't stop it, and especially with what Briles was running and what West Virginia was running. Oh my God, what was that like to be? It had to be uncomfortable.
Thank God I was the linebacker coach that year, but I was in the press box, and it was like watching a tennis match.
Right.
You got Geno and Tavon Austin, Stead Bailey, and then then obviously Baylor and Coach Briles and what they did was just so unique at the time. People really didn't even have a very good understanding of how to defend that. They got you stretched from sideline to sideline. If you lighten the box, they ran the ball. You load the box, they throw it to those guys that could run a hole in the wind. And it was incredible to watch. Gino just absolutely was not going to be denied that game, and played extremely well.
Nick Florence was the head coach, the quarterback who had just replaced RG3. Terrence Williams, did you have nightmares of him for a couple of
yeah.
weeks?
Yeah. He was like he was out there running track.
Yeah. All right. Let's talk more about your team now with Abilene Christian. I mentioned 9-5 last year. You guys are good. Give me kind of a synopsis, an overview from 10,000 feet about who you are. I know you mentioned the personality on defense, but what will be your strength? You mentioned tight ends, but what kind of football team do you think you have?
Yeah, I think I hired Graham Harrell as my offensive coordinator a year ago. And
Love him.
He is an absolute football coach. And the thing I love about him is that obviously, he's got the Mike Leach tie and the air raid background, but he builds his offense around the personnel as well as anybody I've been around recently. And I mean, we're big up front on offense. We got tight ends. We have running backs. I cannot tell you how many times a year ago that we went on 14-play drive, 15-play drive, scoring drives, 75 yards or more. But we did it multiple times throughout the course of the year. So I think just that pounding, run the football, try to control the game. And I think that's probably even more so important this year with an inexperienced defense. We're going to have to be able to control the ball and be able to get those guys over there, make adjustments in between series. But I love the way that he spreads the ball around through the passing game. And I mean, we had a brand new quarterback last year, 5 brand new offensive linemen, and we put up tremendous numbers and was playing really well toward the end of the year. So I think you'll see the same thing. I think we're a little bit probably farther along offensively than we were a year ago.
Graham Harrell is a fantastic human being.
Yes, he is.
He is married to my daughter, not to my daughter, but he's married to one of my daughter's best friends.
Wow.
In a Tomlinson girl. And I just love Graham to death. And, he had to kind of reset his career with where he was and then USC and then what was it? Golly, I just Purdue,
West Virginia.
He did the same thing, and now, and when I saw that he was going to be at Abilene Christian, I was happy for ACU, happy for Graham, because he can coach. There's no question about it, and to put up those kind of numbers, because everyone thinks of him because of the throw to Crabtree, because Mike Leach or whatever. How much different is the offense he's running or you're running than what it was?
Yeah, I mean, utilizing tight ends, and I'm just telling you, I'm so excited about those guys just to see what they can do. The running back room, just being able to run the ball, setting up play action, throwing the ball vertical. He just like I said, I think the best thing that he does is he sits there and he just focuses on, hey, how can I get the ball into that? No, don't make it hard. Just, hey, how can I get my ball into the hands of our playmakers and try to create matchups? I think he does a really good job of getting his guys on the right guy that he wants to attack. And I think he's just even going to be better this year. He got a taste of the business side of college football, and sometimes it's not always good. And it's a great profession, but it's a sorry business at times.
Keith, the way the college football is chaos. I mean, even today there was another ruling about the NCAA, 10th Circuit Court of Appeals ruled a stay for the NCAA and the Colorado ruling. But then there's the Louisiana ruling, and then there's Ohio. And yet also part of the chaos is everybody that already has a lot wants more. The big schools, the Power 4 schools, Notre Dame. And I get nervous, and maybe it's because I'm an SFA graduate and I love the schools that are of that level too, that the concern is of getting rid of games that are not Power 4. And people are canceling games. How much can you explain and look in the camera? How much do those games that pay you, the Texas Tech, TCU last year, how big and how critical are those games for Abilene Christian and other schools like you?
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, especially you're talking about a small faith-based institution. So like, we don't get state revenue at a place like this, yet they're very important in my opinion. And I think we can even do a better job of those type contracts. I hope we don't ever lose out on the opportunity. Because maybe Stephen F. Austin, now most recently, if I'm not mistaken, going into the University of Texas system. You got
Yep.
Tarleton in the A&M system. So I think for someone like us, it would be really hard not to be able to supplement our athletic budget with those buyout games. They're extremely. I mean, you look at since I've been here. I mean, our record has not been impressive. I mean, we played A&M, Missouri, Texas Tech twice, TCU, North Texas, University of Idaho. I think I counted it up at the end of this season. But when we get through this season, in the last 3 years, I think we'll have played somewhere in the upwards of 16 ranked opponents. So we've not shied away from. I like it that way. I mean, those games are more meaningful, in my opinion, than I don't. It's hard to get that bye in the top 8 because it's just 8-4 doesn't look like 10-2. But I mean, you say what you want to say. They don't care that we played Texas Tech or Tulsa or North Texas or A&M or whatever. It's just 8-4 looks like 8-4, and 10-2 looks like 10-2, and it's really hard to sneak into. But we've been a top 15 program the last two years.
Yep.
12 and 15, I think. But man, we should be able to. I put it like this: we played at TCU last year. I coached there at Texas Tech, at West Virginia. And the first time that I ever saw that place sold out was I'm coaching ACU, and the place was packed out last year. So what an incredible game for us I'd love to play TCU one year, Texas Tech the next, TCU one year, Texas Tech the next. That would be tremendous, I think, for our athletic department.
You were at Tech. You mentioned that as the defensive coordinator at one point, and then you went to Abilene Christian. Is there a little bit of you, because you're playing Tech that's got a little extra spice to it?
You know what? They asked me that question 2 years ago, and I love my time there. I absolutely I don't have anything to prove, I just honestly, man, I had a great experience there. Man, we went out, competed against Mike Leach in his last bowl game there, and man, we got to go out a bowl champion. So, man, I had an incredible time in Abilene, Texas. The only thing bad about it was right in the middle of COVID as well. And it made things a little bit difficult from a recruiting standpoint. But at the end of the day, I had a great experience. For example, we got hit. Our bus got hit after that game in an intersection by a truck going 65 miles an hour. And so I'm in the hospital till 5:30 in the morning in Lubbock, Texas. And Kirby Hocutt and Dr. Boone, that they're sitting there at the hospital. Kirby's sitting there with my wife till 2 in the morning. I mean, those are just some incredible people. I have nothing but respect for Joey and everything that they're doing there. I loved our time in Lubbock for sure.
Keith, you've been great. Thank you very much. Appreciate you. I wish you the best of luck. I do. I love Abilene Christian, and remember, it was East Texas State with Wade Wilson. Wade Wilson, who's passed away, played like 18 years, 19 years in the NFL, coached with the Cowboys too. So I have I have a love for the old conference, but keep doing what you're doing, and good luck. Thank you very much managing this craziness in college athletics.
You bet. Thank you for having me on.
Keith Patterson gave us a lot more time than I asked for, which I'm guilty of doing that quite a bit. But what a good segment with him. When we come back, his name is Kevin Feit. Was at Oklahoma State at one point, Houston. He's now the AD at Eastern New Mexico. His Brett McMurphy's article, a couple of days ago on Art Briles getting back into college coaching. He was the AD that pulled the trigger on that. His thoughts about it, what's been the reaction, but also tell us a little bit about Eastern New Mexico. He will be next. We appreciate your time. I'm David Smoak. Craig back on Monday. If you haven't hit the like button, please do. We'd appreciate that too. 365 Sports. The summer sales event continues at Allen Samuels Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat with pre-owned cars, trucks, and SUVs. Their inventory is phenomenal. You know, it was just what? He mentioned COVID, Coach Patterson. There was a time during that when you couldn't get a lot of inventory. Allen Samuels always had a chunk of cars available. And in fact, 2020 is when I bought mine, the car that I have now, a 2017 Ford Explorer that was a part of the pre-owned inventory. I love that car. It's been fantastic. Celebrate 250 years of the great nation to the full extent with brand new America 250 edition, the 2026 Jeep Wrangler or 2026 Ram 1500. Here's one that's a pre-owned car, not very old at all. 2025 Subaru Legacy, the Sport, 13,000 miles, and right now it's just under 30,000 at $29,995. Also, the 2020 Mercedes-Benz C300, just $24,725. Pre-owned, new. If you're talking trucks and you hear Ram, doing, it's a bad dude. If you want SUVs and you hear Jeep, the Wagoneer, the Cherokee, the Grand Cherokee, these SUVs are just phenomenal. And as I mentioned, the pre-owned inventory too. Allen Samuels, General Manager, CEO. What an incredible guy. And Ted Teague is involved in so much around the community as well, plus knows the car business. Allen Samuels, also David Gray, sales director, sales manager, handles the men and women that also will show you what you're looking for, help you through the entire process of looking around, maybe a test drive or three, and also, are you going to buy it, and how can they help you if you want to? Allen Samuels, it's the summer sales event, Loop 340 east of 84 in Waco.
It's in the major leagues for 24 years, and let me tell you, I can feel it in my joints. Shoulders, elbows, and knees. Trust me, pain doesn't retire when you do. I tried everything to get rid of the pain. Nothing worked until QC Kinetics.
Baseball legend Roger Clemens and other patients are getting lasting relief with QC Kinetics regenerative treatments. No surgery.
I trust QC Kinetics. You should too. Let's commit to getting rid of all the pain.
Schedule your free consultation today. QC Kinetics. Better starts here.
With over 25 years of excellence in IT, Carrion Solutions is your trusted technology partner. From managed IT services to cutting-edge cybersecurity, our expert team delivers tailored solutions that drive success. Our portfolio includes products such as Veeam, Bitdefender, Microsoft, Cisco, and Fortinet. Call David Carrion and his team of experts. Call 888-522-2221 or visit us at carrionsolutions.com.
Established in 2007 and independently owned, Alliance Bank Central Texas is committed to helping families and businesses meet their financial goals. From their tellers to their board of directors, they know the importance of superior service and competitive products. Customers have confidence knowing that their financial needs are in good hands. It's your bank, Alliance Bank Central Texas, with 2 Waco locations, 4721 Bosque Boulevard and 191 Archway Drive on Highway 84, and at alliancebanktexas.com. Member FDIC and equal housing lender.
Hello, I'm Camille Johnson with Camille Johnson Realtors. We specialize in selling residential real estate agent all across our community, and we love serving all types of families. We have been in business at Camille Johnson Realtors for almost 9 years, and I have been a residential real estate agent for almost 40 years. And we love our partnership with 365. So thank you for partnering with me, and thank you so much to all of my clients who have made our company a success.
Score big on your next ride during the Kickoff to Savings event at Richard Carr.
Score your biggest savings of the year right now on Buick. Get a 3-row 2026 Buick Enclave and save $8,500. Or non-GM owners can save $6,750 on all 2026 Buick Envisions in stock. Get here now or go online and save thousands on Buick at Richard Carr.
Find championship savings and win on your next deal at their Kickoff to Savings event at Richard Carr.
At Richard Carr, we give you more.
Pepperoni Magnifico. Pepperoni Magnifico. Marco's Pepperoni Magnifico. Classic and crispy cut pepperoni, 3 melty cheeses, all on our fresh made dough. And starting at just $12.99 for a large, it's no wonder Marco's was named America's favorite pizza chain.
This 4 o'clock hour is brought to you by Stonewood Dental, your one-stop shop for your dental needs, specializing in teeth cleaning, fillings, crowns, sealants, root canals, IV sedation, extractions, implants, bridges, dentures, full mouth restorations, and bioaesthetic dentistry. Our priority is your comfort from the moment you walk through the front door. Stonewood Dental in Robinson, Texas. It's time for the Smoak Show on 365 Sports with Craig Smoak and David Craig.
Craig is out until Monday. David Craig, thanks to Abilene Christian's Keith Patterson. Coming up around the corner, Zach Barnett, footballscoop.com. And then Tony Caridi, voice of West Virginia Athletics, will join us at 5 o'clock. We're now joined by Kevin Feit, Director of Athletics at Eastern New Mexico University, here on the Smoak Show in 365 Sports. Kevin, how you doing? Good to have you. Appreciate
I'm good, David. How are you?
I'm doing well. What have the last couple of days been like since the Brett McMurphy article on Art getting back in college coaching?
Well, our community's been pretty excited about having Coach Briles and his staff here since we made the hire back in late November. But that story just kind of stirred the beehive a little bit, and everybody's a little bit more buzzy about what's going on and the football season to come. And I think it kind of woke everybody up a little bit. It's like, hey, it's time to get your tickets. Let's get this going. The season's upon us. So, I'm not sure it's changed the conversation that much. It's just increased it at this time and got everybody ready.
I saw the quote, I think, from Mike Holder. You worked at Oklahoma State for a long time. When he had heard you were hired Coach Briles, and he said you're one of the few that had the cojones to do that. Do you feel that way?
Well, the way I look at it is I had access to information that most ADs would not have. I'd worked with Art at the University of Houston. I was also a member of the enforcement staff for a number of years. So I know people on the enforcement staff. I know people on the Committee on Infractions. I know how that process works. And I know how to read infractions reports and really see what the issue was and how serious the issue was. So I just felt like I was better suited to make that decision than most. And then, of course, as it's mentioned in the article, Chad Jackson, who's a longtime senior associate AD for compliance at Baylor, is a real good friend of mine. We were friends going back to my days at Houston and his days at UAB. And so, I had conversations with him, and I also had conversations with Ian McCaw. And so I had a lot more resources and knowledge than most.
So when let's talk about the NCAA part of it, because as you know, there was a huge report, Pepper Hamilton, and then the NCAA looked around. So there's a lot of ways to look at the Art Briles tenure at Baylor. You know that. I mean, my God, like you said, you've done your due diligence. And he was cleared by the NCAA, correct?
Yes. I mean, the NCAA got away from getting into issues like Baylor's, similar to what they did with Penn State, which it's always been my contention that what they did to Penn State was wrong. And there were severe issues at Penn State, but they were not NCAA matters. And I kind of look at Baylor as very similar to that. So
this is such a lightning rod, and it appears, other than Mount Vernon High School, because the Italian League, they're not even paying attention to what's basically being written or said or the blowback. But you're one of the few then that have been able to say, we're going to hire him, we're going to bring him in, and then had the ability to weather any of the storm, if whatever that angle was. Why? How did what? And you said you had a lot more information, but a lot of people have had information. They were scared off. I mean, I think it was the Cleveland Browns. You went up with a Pepper. Golly, I just lost his name. He brought him in. The owner approved it. And then all of a sudden, story was that one day that at a country club, some women were having lunch and they brought up Art and they got nervous and they said, you can't stay here. Why you? Why have you been able to then say no matter what, the phone calls, the letters, or whatever?
Well, we took the time to look into all of it. I met with my president. I didn't talk to anybody about it until I talked to my president first, and he talked to our board of regents. We just felt comfortable about it. The other thing it's obvious is we're Division II. We're in the Lone Star Conference. We're not a big city. It's not a major media. Pretty conservative area in the country. And it was, just more excitement about the coaching. I think they accepted the positive things that they heard. Then you got Coach Briles here, and they had an opportunity to meet him. And this is a very small community. A lot of them have met him, and they feel good about him. So we really didn't get much negative reaction. I mean, we heard from some of the people that probably Baylor heard from, or you, maybe even you, but not a lot. It was less than I thought we would.
I want to just ask a couple more questions. I want to get to what this has meant to Eastern New Mexico as well. But I'm glad you came on with us, and glad that we worked it out. And Brett McMurphy's the one that got us in contact with each other. How do you look at the part about people, victims, and all of that? Did you and Art talk much about that at all?
About the victims?
Yes.
No, I don't know that we would.
What I'm saying is that there's a lot of unknown, and there's a lot of also reporting that was atrocious at times during that time. There was. Believe me, I lived it. I was right in the middle of it, and sometimes people thought I didn't do enough. But it seems like that is still the bottom line, right? That the scandal itself, not so much the NCAA violations. Was that ever brought? Did you ever talk to Art about any of that?
Well, sure. And I think the most important thing to say is, I have a daughter. Art has a daughter.
Yep.
We both have wives. I mean, we're sensitive to that type of thing. And, we wouldn't want that to happen here. And, the other thing that I would say, David, is intercollegiate athletics and NCAA athletics in particular treat these matters much differently than they did before the Baylor scandal. And there's been a complete change in NCAA legislation about sexual violent acts and how you look into that from an institutional perspective, from your student athletes or your incoming student athletes. The rules have changed, the expectation has changed. And even when you talk about Title IX with respect to sexual violence or sexual attacks, there's been a change on every campus across the United States about how you deal with those things. The consciousness level is so much higher now than what it was 10 years ago. And there's some positive to that, but in the consciousness level in athletics is so much higher.
I think the Clery Act, the Title IX, and I think that a lot of people learned from how that was handled or not, and that you need, like it needs to be separated from the athletic department. And it does. And again, but yeah, I was here every day during that time. Believe me.
Yeah.
And
let me just say this. Back before that, an athletic department, something out with a student athlete, and they might feel compelled to get involved. Well, now everybody in the country knows that is not our job. We are not in this. Take it to the Title IX office, take it to the appropriate people, and have them review it. And what that looked like to Baylor at the time, I don't know.
Yeah, I think there was confusion, and whether they liked it, I think there was like a lot of unknown confusion or passing the buck or whatever. It was obviously not handled very well. How would you describe Art? You knew him at Houston because you were at Houston when he was the head coach there before he took the job at Baylor. Obviously, you were at Oklahoma State when he was at Baylor, and now you've had a chance to spend all these nearly almost a year with him. How do you describe him?
He's the same Art that he was when he first became the coach at the University of Houston. But obviously, he's much more experienced, much more confident, and administratively a lot stronger. And that's probably because of his experience, particularly at Baylor. But he's cognizant of his responsibility to deal with issues both on and off the field. But he's the same old coach, and he's a joy to be around. His kids, his players absolutely love him. The community loves him. I've had players come up to me and say, thank you for hiring him. I love football again. Things like that. And, he's regularly speaking to his team about doing the right thing and taking care of their own responsibilities. Just somebody that you like to be around and you want your kids to be around.
All right, so what does this mean to Eastern New Mexico? Obviously, there's an uptick. I saw the bookstore picture, the shirts, the football. I have to be honest with you. I had to go back and look at the history of Eastern New Mexico football. I just had the coach, as you saw, Keith Patterson from Abilene Christian. We've had coaches at every level, Division III. I love the sub-FBS schools. I even hate to say FBS, but I always have. Give us a little history about Eastern New Mexico football from your perspective.
Well, Eastern New Mexico athletics in general, they were an NAIA school until the early 80s when they joined the Lone Star Conference in NCAA Division II. As somebody who spent most of their career in Texas and Oklahoma, of course, the Lone Star Conference I had a great appreciation for before I took this job. But I can't say that I specifically was aware of Eastern New Mexico University. I mean, we're out here, as I say, a 5-iron from the New Mexico-Texas border. And it feels very much like West Texas. And that's probably why Art fits in as well as we do. I mean, conference championship-wise, since they joined the Lone Star, Eastern New Mexico won it in 1991 when Don Carthel was the head coach, and then won it again in 2013. So, you've seen 2 conference championships in the last 35 years.
Right.
But it's a very solid conference. I mean, when you look at Division II football, the Lone Star Conference is right up there with the top conferences in the country. Typically, over the last few years, they've run a wing T triple option type offense, and it certainly wasn't as entertaining as certainly not as entertaining as what you were going to see from Coach Briles. I think it kind of put their defense at a disadvantage as well because they didn't have the opportunity to practice against wide open spread offense. And then they'd face it every weekend. So there's a good history in the conference. There's not a bad history for Eastern New Mexico, but we certainly think we can raise the level, and we got the right person to do it.
And I grew up in the Lone Star Conference when I was at SFA. In fact, Jim Hess had been at Angelo State, won a national championship there. They're a part of it, and a lot of the changes, Texas A&I, of course, in Kingsville's changed their name a little bit. But golly, Darrell Green, Gene Upshaw, Hall of Fame. We could go on and on.
Well, and Michael Sinclair, who spent years with the Seattle Seahawks, yes. He played here at Eastern, and.
Okay.
I'll throw some other names at you. Dana Altman.
The coach, yeah.
And, of course, Steve Loy, who I'm not sure if you're familiar with. Steve Loy was a longtime golf coach at Arkansas and Arizona State, and Phil Mickelson's coach. Steve is now runs one of the biggest sports agencies in the world, And he, of course, is a graduate and proud alum and donor and big supporter of our athletic program.
Kevin Feit, the AD at Eastern New Mexico University, with us on 365 Sports. Let me kind of go back to a couple of things now. So when Brett McMurphy contacted Art about the story, he had told me back when I saw him in July at Big 12 Media Days that he was going to have a chance and hopefully it was going to work out. What was your reaction to that? Were you excited about the publicity, or were you also, to be honest, that, well, everyone kind of is leaving us alone right now? Maybe we should let this under the radar. Hell no, we hired him. Let's go.
We own it. And actually, Brett reached out to me first. Brett and I have been friends for a number of years. You know, Brett is an Oklahoma State grad.
Absolutely.
And so we had that connection. We developed a friendship a number of years ago, and Brett reached out to me and he said, "What do you think?" And I said, "Let's do it. And let's talk about how it happened, and let's talk about why it's a good thing it happened." And so I welcomed it. I got to thank him quite a bit. It was pretty good timing that it got published at this point in the year, because I think it's spurred on our ticket sales a little bit, and like I said, kind of shaked up that beehive a little bit to get that buzz going.
When you decided, because he shared the story about your conversation with Art about let's do this, and and you did that. When you started talking to those who are also decision makers on campus, those who have their hands in the dirt in New Mexico, Eastern New Mexico University, was there anybody that said no?
No. I mean, my conversation was strictly with the president of the university, and then he spoke to the regents, and then when it began to break, everything we got, 98% of everything we got was positive, but it wasn't necessarily it wasn't like we had a search committee. It was me taking my recommendation to the president and him seeking the approval of the Board of Regents.
You think that the best thing that could happen is you play a game and get the season on, just play a game and get moving?
Yeah, well, everybody feels like that at this point.
Absolutely.
You know, it's like, I can't wait for that first game to get here and that first home game to get here. You know, one thing that we're doing, obviously, our first game is on the road, and that'll be an opportunity for Art to get his 100th career collegiate win.
Yep.
And then the following week, we are here in Portales playing Colorado Mesa, and we're hosting what we're calling Art Briles Legacy Reunion. And we've invited players, former coaches, anybody that's ever worked with Art to come to back for that game. And we're having some functions on Friday night, a tailgate on Saturday for those individuals. We're doing T-shirts, and then we're going to have a dinner on Saturday night where they'll all have an opportunity to get together with Coach Briles and see him a little bit. But you know, we're owning it. We're cheering it on. We're proud of what we've done.
The story that Brett told about Art after the Fiesta Bowl loss to UCF, listen again, there was no question. The Austin American-Statesman sent a writer out to Phoenix. He and I have known each other. His name is Brian Davis. Came out about midweek to cover the week of practices because it was pretty much a given that he was headed that way. I talked to Corey Coleman, the former All-American wide receiver, about that too. Brett kind of discussed that as well. So that was I was really interested in a lot of the stories and that timeline of who asked who, or was there an offer, or that's my resume. It was interesting that everyone's kind of covering themselves in certain ways. But you did it. He's there. I sent Art a text when I saw Brett's story that morning, and I wish you the best. I appreciate it. I know that not everybody likes what you've done, but you can't run your university based on anything like that. You have to do with what you think is the right decision, and in this decision, you've made it.
You know, I'll say this, and probably in hearing positive feedback, it seems as though I've heard from more people with Baylor ties than any other school. You know, maybe that's because it's the most recent one, but I was contacted either by email, text message, phone calls from a lot of people with Baylor connections that were very happy about Art getting this opportunity. And I will tell you this: we embrace Baylor fans. You know, they wear green just like we do, and we'd love to have them out here. I mean, I don't. You know, Dave Aranda's a good friend, and I wouldn't want to, pull him away from a home Baylor game. But if Baylor's on the road, come on, folks, come on out. Go EasternAthletics.com, buy your tickets. We'd love to have you here.
Well, I appreciate you, Kevin, quite a bit. Thank you very much for your time. And Mike Holder, I think, said it best when he said that you are one of the few that would pull the trigger. People can debate that all they want. I know I've taken too long.
No,
the NCAA, I know you work for them. That's a former employee, and you did a lot with the various universities. And what you're doing, this is chaos. Today, there was another ruling. I don't know if you heard about it. The ruling that the 10th Circuit Court of Appeals put a stay or backed the NCAA, that now that Colorado ruling is now at least out. And all the players that thought they had another year. You've worked there before. That's back when if the NCAA called you, you didn't sleep that night. It's like the IRS.
Yeah.
From your perspective, now that you're in athletics as an AD, how do you see what's going on right now?
Well, there's a reason why I went from Division I to Division II. Division I is a mess. And the NCAA doesn't seem to have the ability to address it. And frankly, my opinion is they helped create a lot of it. And there was a change about the time that the NCAA moved to Indianapolis, where the NCAA's focus, in my view, kind of went off tracks. And this is the result. Kind of going back to the Mike Holder thing, I'll tell you a little bit of story related to Mike Holder and Coach Briles. But, they had words once. I think it was around the time when Baylor maybe was bypassed for
2014.
Yeah.
The TCU Baylor, the 61-58 year, and then Baylor lost at West Virginia the next week, I think.
And Coach Holder was quoted in an article about something about those boys at Baylor need to figure out their schedule. I think it was related to strength of schedule or something. And Art wasn't very happy about it. And he called Coach Holder and gave him a piece of his mind. And Coach Holder, knowing that I had worked with Art, after he got off the phone, walked right down to my office and said, "Your guy, Art Briles, just gave me a call. He's not very happy with me." And Coach Holder's response was, "I love that guy."
Oh, really?
Yeah. And he said, "I'd love to hire that guy someday." And so that's why you got the response, or you saw the response that you did. Coach Holder had a lot of respect for Art Briles and his competitive nature and his coaching abilities. So that's why Coach Holder responded to me the way he did that day.
We're going to go to another guest, Zach Barnett, in just a moment. One thing about what Holder was saying is what people are saying a little bit about Indiana right now. But what they did is Signetti, they didn't blow a tire. And what a lot of people don't know about that early 2010 stretch when Baylor's their non-conference schedule was awful. It was pathetic. But they had been through 17 years where they couldn't get bowl eligible, as you know, and they almost had to put themselves together at 3 wins in non-conference, no matter who it was against, just to get 3 wins, because they didn't know if they're going to get 3 wins. Then all of a sudden, RG3 and all that, then Bryce Petty and all the other guys who won national awards, they kicked it in, and it was weak, but there was they're just trying to get to a bowl game, and That's kind of what some schools are doing right now. Thank you very much, Kevin. I appreciate your time very much. We'll be in touch again.
Anytime.
Thank you. Kevin Feit, he's the AD, Director of Athletics at Eastern New Mexico University. If, in fact, Rez, we've got, okay, Zach Barnett, we'll go straight to him. Appreciate Kevin's time. I thought that after the segment we had with Brett McMurphy to get Kevin Feit's, his background, some of it was shared in the story. Listen, even Trey Wallace, who was on with us that same day from Fox, it's still polarizing. There is either going to, it's almost like politics. I'm not sure if anyone's opinion is wrong because people have their emotions and their feelings about what they like or don't like. So I wanted to get Kevin on and ask him some questions and also give him a chance to explain a little bit about what he was doing during the process. We're now joined by Zach Barnett, footballscoop.com. In fact, I know Zach took some of what Brett McMurphy, Zach, on the story about who did who or who offered what, or that I was there in Phoenix and Brian Davis came out from Austin to cover that week because it was all but a done deal that Bryles was going to go to Austin. You remember that time?
Yeah. And the story out of Austin is different than the story that Art Bryles tells. And where's the absolute 100% truth of it? With all these things, it's in the eye of the beholder. I think there's enough truth to go around to say I don't think anybody's lying, but I think everyone's version of the truth is colored by what makes them look the best. I'll just put it that way.
Yeah, it's almost a matter. I don't know if this is the right word because I'm not a very smart person, but did I just admit that on the air? It's a matter of semantics in some cases as well about who was offered or what. And bottom line is it didn't work out. He eventually stayed. And then, of course, all hell broke loose just a couple of years later in 2016. Okay, let's get Brent Venables. Signs an extension. I understand the business. I've been covering this for 45 years. But, Zach, why? Why now and not at least, let's see if OU can put together a couple of back-to-back years of being in the playoff?
I have to believe, and I saw George Stoya, who covers Oklahoma very well for Sooner Scoop, brought this out, which I did not know, was that Roger Denny, the new AD at Oklahoma, what got him hired at Illinois before OU was his work on the contracts for Brad Underwood and Brett Bielema. So I have to believe, and I haven't seen the contract myself, so this is conjecture a little bit, but I have to believe that the commitment that Oklahoma gave to Brent Venables beyond 2030, beyond what was already on the books, is probably very minimal. That's the only reason I can think of that Oklahoma would do this deal on the eve of the season when Brent Venables is at zero risk of leaving before the season, where Oklahoma could go win a national championship, or they could go 7-5 and play in some bowl game nobody cares about. Both of those things are on the table. So to do this now, I think it's low risk, low commitment for both sides.
Yeah, but are they bidding against themselves? Because was anyone knocking down the door to get to Brent Venables?
No. And the weird thing about this is the way how out front. I mean, Oklahoma is not far from the only program with a general manager, and there's two types of general managers in college football. There's the weak GMs that have the title, but the head coach is really the one making the decisions. And then there's the true NFL style where the GM is saying, all right, here's who we're going to go after. Pick among your menu of players that you can have. And Oklahoma has been the most out front among those programs. I mean, Jim Nagy does more media than some NFL general managers, although not the Dallas Cowboys. But so I think that hamstrings Brent Venables a little bit, in that if Oklahoma goes out and goes 11-1 this season, I mean, Nagy, he's going to be in front of the camera taking at least some of the credit, and I think that's going to reduce Brent Venables' value in the open market, if he's even interested in the open market, because the question is going to be, well, are you bringing Nagy with you? No? Okay, well, then who's going to be your general manager? Because there's there's clearly a before and after to the Brent Venables tenure.
We lose him. Is he on? Can you hear me, Zach?
I hear you.
Oh, okay.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I got you. The last part of that. I know how you were finishing that up with that. All right. If you had, I saw a story, I don't know if it was The Athletic or ESPN or whatever, and you guys have had yours as well, the tiers of college coaches in the FBS. And there's like 7 of them. I was jogging earlier this morning, listening to a show out of Dallas, and they were discussing the tiers. And tier 1 included Kirby Smart and Kirk Cignetti. And then tier 2 were a few others. And then there's tier 3, and guys like Elko and Clark Lee, of course, had been moving up the chain. If you were to say, right now in college football, how many elite, I mean alpha elite head coaches are there?
That's such an eye of the beholder question, because am I trying to build a program to go win a national championship, or am I just trying to take mine and beat yours on any given Saturday? Because I think it's 2 different things.
I tell you what, let's talk about build, like what Clark Lee's doing or what Georgia Tech and what they're doing, or others that are trying to build. Give me the list of the alphas you think that are the ones who can either do a flip a house, renovate a house, or turn it into a castle that used to be maybe on a bad street somewhere in America.
I mean, I think you're probably at 10, 15 off the top of my head. I mean, Cignetti obviously is number 1. I mean, I'm more confident that Cignetti could go win at Eastern Michigan than I am that Kirby Smart could. And then he's top of mind because I read a story about him yesterday. But Jason Eck at New Mexico is a guy that I think is a better ball coach than a lot of guys in the top 10, top 15 right now. Just isn't at the right job. I mean, I think if I'm looking to go build, I mean, I'm looking at a guy like Charles Huff at Memphis that won Conference USA at Marshall, couldn't agree on a new contract, left, and then went to Southern Miss where they were 1-11 and went 7-5 in one season, and now at Memphis. I'm going to populate my list largely with those guys before I get to a Dabo Swinney. I mean, potentially even a Ryan Day, because I mean, the Ohio State job is the best job in the country, but at the same time, it's not easy. And I think he's done a great job of managing that particular job. But if I'm looking to build, I'm going to look at those guys before I look at the guys that are, to quote Jim Harbaugh, born on third base.
I saw the story that Trey Wallace actually wrote about Clark Lee and Vanderbilt getting Jared Curtis to flip the 5-star quarterback. What is it about Clark Lee that makes him so special?
I think I think people are attracted to that this guy clearly believes in what he practices what he preaches and believes in what he's selling. And that I think if you're Jared Curtis, you probably walk into a lot of rooms and people are willing to tell you whatever it is they think that you want to hear. And Vanderbilt obviously did what it took to get Jared Curtis, but they weren't going to change who they were. And Clark Lee was going to remain Clark Lee whether he got Jared Curtis or not. And a lot of coaches, a lot of people say, well, Jared Curtis has all the leverage here. If he wants us to do X, Y, and Z, well, we better do X, Y, and Z. And Vanderbilt's not one of those programs. And I think, ironically, being themselves and not flagellating themselves in front of a teenage quarterback was probably enticing to Jared Curtis.
Man, it's a great story about that. I love that what Indiana's done to disrupt things. Cignetti, obviously Tech has done that. They got to now put more skins in the wall. That Vanderbilt is relevant and not just, okay, that was cute and go back to 3-8 or 3-9. I just love that. And I've asked this question. and I may have already asked you this. If I did, I apologize. If you could do a cage match, have I asked you this before?
I think so.
Okay. Clark Lee, Brent Key, who else could we add to the list? In a cage match, John Sumrall, I'll add him to the list. I don't think I brought him up. Who comes out of that alive?
I'm going to go, you know what? I'll go Brent Key. That guy's, he's feisty. Not in a good a shape as Clark Lee or John Sumrall or even a Brent Venables, who's probably 15 years Brent Key senior. But the guy, he would do whatever it takes to get it done. I would go him.
Yeah, I think
probably,
too. Yeah,
I'd probably make some money on that because he wouldn't be the favorite.
Oh no, yeah, you put down a lot because you have a good chance you're going to win. The odds would be, I don't know what the odds would be. I need to get somebody that I don't know anybody that's I wonder if I could just reach out to somebody and go, hey, 3 men, here they are, cage match, give me some odds. What about today's ruling, Zach? Another Friday, another sign of potential madness. If there's not already some from the Colorado ruling, was it 2 weeks ago when Judge Sweeney did the injunction, class of 22, 5 years, some are already going through all of their thing. Now you have the 10th Circuit Court of Appeals saying, no, the NCAA gets a stay here. You have players who are at NFL training camps who have gotten contracts and paid, who are going to go back to college campuses. There appears that might happen. How and what say you?
It's such a tired head topic, but I think I completely believe that the NCAA is fighting this way because they're trying to prove to Congress how bad they need their help. And with each day that passes, each day we get closer and closer to the actual season. I mean, pretty soon, if not this Monday, then certainly, obviously the next Monday, but I think it's largely going to be this Monday. Teams are going to have their final intra-squad preseason scrimmages, and then it's going to flip to, all right, we're on to our game schedule, and we're fully preparing for week 1. And at that point, I'm much more worried about who's in my locker room than who's not. And if it's a guy, if it's a plug-and-play guy like a kicker, that's one thing. Like I saw Wisconsin getting New Mexico's kicker. If it's a guy that was on our team previously, then that makes sense. But if I'm a head coach, if I'm a GM, if Lamar Jackson decides that he's interested in college football rather than being a Raven, I guess I have to have that conversation. But if he's just a regular guy, how do we work him into our depth chart, our locker room? How do we give him a place to live? What are we going to pay this guy? Because there's no one sitting around with a ton of money. All your money is promised to the guys on your team. I think we're past the point where the juice is worth the squeeze.
You said, you're right, it's kind of a deadhead argument, or just it makes me numb. Craig and I speak on it. We report it because we have to. I mean, it affects college sports. It affects college football, men's basketball. It affects everybody. But it's just like never ending. It's numbing, and I'm so fed up with it. And I'm like, today, oh, good, the NCAA won. Okay, now that leaks to another 200 lawsuits. It's awful. I don't know if you heard part of the conversation with Kevin Feit at Eastern New Mexico, but he said that's one of the reasons he got out of the NCAA and is now an AD at a Division II school, where they are, because that it's a mess. It's absolutely a mess. All right, but you know what? Until they grab a hold of it, Zach, it's going to be a story almost daily, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. And guys like Texas's Cole Hudson that had their own lawsuits are still good to go for now. And I'm sure Darren Heitner is firing up his phone to try and sue on behalf of individual players. So you're right that this is far from over.
All right. Can I ask you about the Doug Samuels story about texting among some coaches?
Yeah.
Football Scoop, Zach, of course, incredible with what they do. The contents of a coach's group chat has reportedly gotten over half of his staff put on administrative leave. This is in the West Alice, the Alice West Milwaukee School District. What's going on with this story?
So the story is that many of the coaches were referring to the AD at the school as, quote, grimace, and the contents were leaked by a member of the staff who was not happy with his role. And how many different group chats out there could end jobs and or marriages? Probably 97% of them, but I'm happy to report that all my group chats are part of the 3%, so I'm good to
go. Yeah, I always wondered, wouldn't you like to get, let's say the SEC coaches, and I think this came up one time, the SEC coaches had like a group text, and Kiffin was the one, of course, who was the troll, but I cannot imagine Kirby Smart, or if Saban was still around, getting on there with a group text and going back and forth on just whatever.
Yeah, my hunch there is that the official group chat is probably pretty tame outside of Lane sending some gifts, but I guarantee you the side conversations are where the side group chats are where the real, and probably most of them are about Lane Kiffin. And he's not invited to any of them, if I had to guess.
I would think so. I would think you're right. Okay, I'm going to end with this. Hope you have a great weekend with the family and so much more. You heard my interview with Kevin Fite at Eastern New Mexico. You know about the story. We know that back in, November or so, when they hired Art Briles. What are your thoughts about them doing that? And is it time? Will it ever be time if somebody doesn't want him to be hired, or what? Or what are your thoughts about it overall?
Man, I mean, I really can see in both directions, because, and I really don't want to relitigate what happened over 10 plus years ago. And it's college football. I feel like it's a different thing than a high school, because every person at Eastern New Mexico is actively choosing to be there. Whereas when he was at Mount Vernon, if you live in Mount Vernon, here's your coach. And I think if we live in a society where we all want, seek, deserve second chances, then we got to apply that to people we might not like if we're going to apply it to the people we like. That's ultimately where I land.
Okay. All right. Appreciate your time, buddy. Have a great weekend, Zach, and we hope we're closer and closer to freaking games and evidence, and we can start hopefully talking about wins and stats and losses and upsets and everything else, because we'll have some evidence. Have a great weekend.
You too. Thanks.
Zach Barnett with us, footballscoop.com. Appreciate his time on 365 Sports. Zach Barnett, Fridays, usually around 4:30, is with us. Hey, next week on Monday, Phil Bennett will make his football season debut. We'll also, I've mentioned that some of the other guests that we've had that we've gotten to know over the last few months, Trey Wallace is now Wednesdays. Taylor McCarg, CBS Sports, who was on with us earlier this week, is going to be on. It depends on his schedule, his TV schedule, whether it's on a Wednesday or a Thursday, or Taylor McCarg is a CBS Sports broadcast analyst and much more. So a lot of our programming and segments that we have at Sam Kahn, we've moved it back on Thursday because he needed to, because of his time. So we appreciate the guests that we have. There's no what do I call it? There's no graphic here, Rez, but this is a piece of paper, and I know we have Tony Caridi on West Virginia coming up, the voice of the Mountaineers. As S. Michael DeHart says, once a Mountaineer, always a Mountaineer, when he was referring, in fact, to our guest Keith Patterson, now at Abilene Christian. So I just randomly, on occasion, will go to a year in college football. And normally it's like pre-2000s. Maybe because anything after that for me as a Nebraska fan has been an absolute, like almost disaster, if not disaster. But I do this because I like to go back. I used to enjoy, with all the conferences, how many independents Let's see if anyone's paying attention with me here. How many independents are there in college football at the FBS level? How many schools are independent? Let me go to the chat room here. Let's see here. Michael DeHart, 1. No. How many independent programs are there at the FBS level? Now, yes, now. S. Michael DeHart, Notre Dame. They're not the only one. They're not the only one. Let's see here. MC Gusto, who came back from kind of a part prison term and then some hibernation, like he's a big bear in the winter, getting his belly full. It's good to have you back, MC Gusto. 3, no. General Ursus, Mr. Tennessee volunteer fan. 4, no. I need to know the number. The question, how many independent football programs are in FBS? I didn't ask for the names, I asked for the number. And you guys are all around it. Some have said 3, some have said 1, some have said 4. How many are independent college football teams at the FBS level? Paxton, 8. What? Bobby B, 2, that's right. And some of you have used the schools. Your pet cat again also got it about the same time with both Notre Dame and UConn. Notre Dame, that's it. So that brings me to this right here. Hey, Raz, there's no way you could zoom in on that, is there? I know this is like top secret military stuff. Okay, there you go. All right, so this is kind of fun. All right, right there, perfect. Love this. This is the Miami schedule in 1988. Notre Dame ended up winning their last national title that year because they beat Miami in the game 31-30. All right, there we go. How in the hell? Good stuff. Fantastic, Rez. So they opened the year against number 1 Florida State, of course, their tremendous rival, and they won 31-0. I'll never forget that. I sat down on a Saturday morning, was going to sit there and just watch all, and again, not as many games were on back then, and Florida State it was humiliating for the Seminoles, and they were good. Then they go to Michigan, and they were down 30-16 or 30-14, came back, Huerta, the kicker, kicks the field goal, 31-30. Then they play Wisconsin. Now, Wisconsin wasn't quite, but they beat Wisconsin. Then they beat Missouri. They lose at Notre Dame 31-30. They beat Cincinnati, East Carolina, Tulsa. Now you're getting into some schools that were independent or not a part of a conference. In other words, that LSU, they win at LSU 44-3. Now LSU, got to remember, there was a time when they kind of were hit and miss. But LSU was 7-2, and they beat them 44-3. Then they beat unbeaten Arkansas of then the Southwest Conference 18-16. Then they played BYU, independent, beat them by 24. And then they, in the bowl game, the Orange Bowl game, they, of course, were just way too much, and Nebraska's I formation option could not hammer it down against that Miami speed. They lose 23-3 Nebraska, and Miami goes 11-1. Why am I bringing this up? Here's why. They played number 1, number 15, number 4, number 11, number 8, and number 6 in 1988. I'm going to show you, hold on a second, I'm going to look this up. I'm bringing this up for a reason. College football independence. There are 2 independent schools, and a lot now because of realignment. It's changed. Notre Dame and UConn. And UConn kind of, they were in the Big East, and then they were like gone. They lost didn't they lose the program? And now, of course, they're pretty good. In 1988, do you know how many independent schools? I'm gonna read off. Here are the names of the schools that were independent in 1988 in college football. Notre Dame, Florida State, Miami, West Virginia, Southern Miss, Syracuse, Army, Louisville, South Carolina, Northern Illinois, Louisiana, University of Louisiana, Memphis, Pitt, Akron, Penn State, Rutgers, Tulane, Louisiana Tech, Temple, Tulsa, Boston College, Cincinnati, East Carolina, Navy, and Virginia Tech. Man, that was a good time. That was awesome. UConn's not even a part of that. I don't even know if UConn was playing football. Did you hear the names that were a part of the independents? Notre Dame, I'm going to list the names of teams that have Notre Dame, Florida State, Miami, just by those three alone. And Miami played both of them and was 1-1. West Virginia that year was 11-1. Ask Michael DeHart and Cuz's Corner, Joey Foster, and those great guys, they would know that. Southern Miss and Syracuse were 10-2. Army was 9-3. The Cadets 9-3, 8-3 Louisville. South Carolina, a few years before that, it was 82. Was it 82 when they had George Rogers that won the Heisman Trophy? But think about all of these teams that are all now sucked up by conferences other than Notre Dame and now UConn. Well, how many teams is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. 25 or 26 teams were independent. 6 of them won 10 games or more. One of them, Notre Dame, won the national title. And they started the year number 13 in the country. They finished number 1. Florida State started number 1 in the country. They had the one loss to Miami that was bad, and they finished number 3. Miami had the one loss to Notre Dame, and they finished number 2. West Virginia, independent, had one loss, and they were number 5. 1, 2, 3, and 5. In 1988, the final Associated Press college poll, 4 of the 5 were independent schools. I don't know why you may have been bored by that. That just kind of brought back memories. I just happened to pick 1988. I remember Notre Dame. Tony Rice, the quarterback. Lou Holtz was the head coach. I remember Miami. And I just thought that was kind of a little history lesson. I don't know if any of that made sense to you guys, if, in fact, you care. But I thought it was a cool little note. When we come back, Tony Caridi is the voice of West Virginia, and he is next on 365 Sports. We'll break right here.
90 years ago, Berkeley Ford made a commitment, not just to sell Fords, but to serve Waco. What began in 1936 wasn't a transaction, it was a partnership built through hard work, quality, and integrity, mile by mile. For over 4 generations, Berkeley has been driven by Waco. Thank you for the road we've traveled together and the miles that lay ahead.
Petty Clinic Men's Healthcare in Woodway is now proud to offer you men an exceptional weight management body sculpting product called semaglutide, also known as Ozempic or Wegovy. Semaglutide is an FDA-approved weight management medication. Once-a-week injections of this powerful medication offers an average body fat weight loss of 20% within the first year of treatment. In addition to body sculpting, semaglutide also normalizes blood sugars and has the clinical research proof of reducing blood pressure, cholesterol, stroke, and heart attack risk. If you're like most men and you have stubborn fat that will just not respond to typical diets and exercise, then help is finally here. Semaglutide. Affordable, highly effective. Google search Petty Clinic Waco and reach out to the Petty Clinic team today for a free consultation with Dr. Petty to see if semaglutide is right for you. Go to pettycliniclowt.com.
Whatever it is you wrangle, whatever seeds you sow, no matter what you nurture or what you choose to grow, At Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, we're proud to protect all Texans.
When you play hard, sometimes you fall hard. Sports injuries require special treatment. At Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, our team of expert doctors provides athletes and active adults with comprehensive sports medicine care, diagnostics. Whether you're in high school, college, or beyond, we'll help you get back on the field. Call on the team physicians for Baylor Athletics. Call Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics.
You were made for more. More than the ordinary. More than the expected. You were made for big moments. Made for new friends. Made for the kind of experience that stays with you. And yes, made to discover. Made to create. Made to turn hard work into real opportunity. At Tarleton State, college is more than what happens in a classroom. You were made for more. You were made to be a Texan.
I pitched in the major leagues for 24 years, and let me tell you, I can feel it in my joints. Shoulders, elbows, and knees. Trust me, pain doesn't retire when you do. I tried everything to get rid of the pain. Nothing worked until QC Kinetics.
Baseball legend Roger Clemens and other patients are getting lasting relief with QC Kinetics regenerative treatments. No surgery.
I trust QC Kinetics. You should too. Let's commit to getting rid of all the pain.
Schedule your free consultation today. QC Kinetics. Better starts here.
From the TFNB Your Bank for Life studio. Now, it's time for the Smoak Show. Presented by Texas Farm Bureau Insurance. We are Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, your insurance provider built by Texans for Texans. And we've been protecting families in our great state since 1952. TFNB, your bank for life, serving Central Texans since 1889. It's time for the Smoak Show on 365 Sports with David Craig and Craig Smoak.
Tony Caridi, the voice of West Virginia athletics. His son does basketball. He does baseball. Does, of course, Tony football. One of the things that I've said this about every school that has been added to the Big 12, and especially the last 8 since the BYU, Houston, UCF, and Cincinnati. And then, of course, the 4 schools out of the Pac-12. The people we've gotten to know, the people have become great friends, the professionals that cover those teams, whether it's broadcasters, writers, whoever. It's been a freaking great, along with what we already and who we already knew. Tony Caridi's one of them. He's a pro, a pro's pro, West Virginia. Tony, good afternoon. You went to Syracuse. Is that where you got your broadcasting degree?
I did. It was, it's kind of a wild story. Went to school there, was raised in New York State, came to West Virginia, Morgantown specifically, 7 weeks after I graduated from school, planning to be here 6 months, 43 years ago. So do the math on that one.
Wow.
It's been fun.
Well, I bring that up, one, because I know that some of the other guys that were at Syracuse, I remember this young kid that I worked in TV with was a Syracuse grad and fantastic. But I was bringing up 1988 Miami, but more so because of the independence. There were 25 schools that eventually the Big East sucked some of them up, and of course, but 88 West for freaking Virginia was unbelievable, and they played Notre Dame in the championship game. What do you remember? You had just gotten to West Virginia, 3 or 4 years prior?
Yeah, 4 years. Yeah, 4 years earlier. I remember it all, buddy. It was an amazing season. We saw the maturation of a quarterback, really starting back in the '87 season with Major Harris, who would become a Heisman Trophy finalist, and his numbers retired. He's a college football Hall of Famer, and he stirred it all. And so the '87 team progressively got better and better each and every week. They get into the '88 season, and they hit it perfectly. They go undefeated, and they do play Notre Dame for the national title at the Fiesta Bowl. The unfortunate thing, and one of the great unknown answers in West Virginia history, took place as a result of that game. What if Major Harris didn't get hurt on the very third play of the game. He got tackled over the top by Michael Stonebreaker, who you probably remember, linebacker for Notre Dame, separated his shoulder, tried to gut it out. He was never the same the entire game, in West Virginia obviously lost it, and you'll never know the answer. What if Major was healthy the whole game? What would have happened? Who knows?
You know, Texas fans to this day bring up the 2009 game with Alabama when Colt McCoy injured his shoulder early in that game. And they were like at the 1 yard line or so against Alabama. And that's part of the deal.
Yeah.
It happens. And unfortunately, in that case, it happened against West Virginia. Who are the Mountaineers? They're still a work in progress. Rich Rod, again, back year 2. Who are they, Tony? I mean, do you know yet?
TBA, we'll see. It's to be announced. And for the second straight year, and this is not what he wanted to do, but basically it's what he had to do. He came in relatively late in the recruiting cycle when he first took this job now 2 seasons ago. And as a result, the majority of the kids that he would have recruited were already committed elsewhere. So we had 80 new players a year ago. Now, as a result of a 4-win season, he went back to it and said, I got to do it again. Not that he wanted to. So we've got more than 80 new players again. However, David, I don't think there's any argument that this is a much better looking group of athletes. He's also made a significant position change at the offensive line spot with Rick Trickett, a legendary name who I'm sure you're familiar with through the years.
Yep.
Rick Trickett is back. He was here during the first version of Rich when West Virginia had, 3 consecutive 11-win seasons. And he has put together an offensive line that just looks different. It's more talented. And, Rich's offense is based upon running the football. I think they finally will be able to do it again this year. We've had a change out at quarterback. Michael Hawkins comes from Oklahoma via the transfer portal. Looks like he is going to be the guy at that quarterback spot. And we've got Cam Cook, who led the nation in rushing a year ago at Jacksonville State with over 1,600 yards. You're probably familiar with him. He played at TCU previously. So you've got pieces. Jaden Bray, who we once played against at Oklahoma State, coming back from an injury year at a wide receiver spot. So it looks on paper that you're more talented. And the thing that I keep telling folks that, at this time of the year, whatever team you follow, people say, how many wins? How many wins? Oh, I don't know how many wins. The thing that I think you can say, hey, here's what I do know. They're more talented and they're better. Does that equate to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? I don't know how many more wins that equates to, but they will be better.
All right, you mentioned Trickett. He's been at West Virginia 3 different times. I just realized that back in the 70s, and then again in the 2000s when you were talking about with Rich Rod, and back now as the offensive line coach. So I just think Rich Rod's so cool. He really is, and we enjoyed having him on at Big 12 Media Days. He was what he was, and now, of course, he's been to a couple of different schools. Now he's back. Is the love and infatuation for him still the same?
Not yet. I think that it's leaning that way. I think there are some that immediately, when Rich came back, said, yes, that was always in my dream of dreams that he would come back someday. So for those, yeah, instantly it is. But I do think, like any fan base, they want to see victories. And so I think that's why this season is so important. I think everyone gives you, okay, your first year, you're setting the foundation. It came out to be 4 wins. It's 4 wins. I can understand why. I think this year, with a more favorable schedule, that people expect to see, that period of improvement that all programs have to, make as you continue to make your move back to where you want to be. And so I think there may be some that are kind of still sitting there hoping, but I don't think there's any question the way that this lays out, David, if West Virginia is able to get its first 2 games and, you're going to start here with Coastal Carolina, then you're going to go Tennessee Martin, then we go to Charlotte for a neutral game against the University of Virginia. If you can go 3-0 and then open your Big 12 season here at home against Oklahoma State, who obviously is also going through a major personnel retool. Yep. Then after that, another retool job, perhaps even bigger, at Iowa State. You can do it on a pencil. You can go like, hey, I can see how they can get off to like a big boy start. And so if those things happen, long answer to your short question, I think that everyone will be back on the proverbial bandwagon.
Well, and again, he's done it, and I know that people want to see if he can do it again. And at least he's in an area that he's comfortable with, and also that the fans are too. You mentioned Hawkins and Fox, the quarterbacks. Don't you wish you could mold them together, the body size? Because Hawkins, and they both can run in different ways, but if you could put them both together like in a beaker and kind of swirl it around, you'd have a much more physical Michael Hawkins or a much quicker Scotty Fox. I just had to say that. That's a dumb question. I don't know.
No, I mean, I get it. I think that, if you take a look at Rich's quarterbacks that have had the greatest success with him, we can go like really back in history. And the thing I find fascinating about Rich is while he's known as a coach that likes to run the football, when in his very first days of being a head coach, Glenville State, which at that time was an NAIA program, and then it became Division II. He threw the ball at an unparalleled pace. He had the player on his team that broke Jerry Rice's record in the history of college football for most receptions, a young guy by the name of Chris George. And then he flipped it. When he went to Tulane with Tommy Bowden and was the offensive coordinator, he had Sean Brown. Then Clemson, Woody Dantzler. Then West Virginia, Rasheed Marshall at first, who was the Big East Offensive Player of the Year. And then, of course, Pat White, Denard Robinson at Michigan, Khalil Tate at Arizona, and then Tyler Huff, most recently at Jacksonville State. So, point is, he has got to have a dude that can run his stuff. And right now, that means the ability, yes, to throw the football, but at the same time, you have got to be a willing runner. So in watching Michael Hawkins and watching Scotty Fox, I think they're both willing to do it. But the magic of Rich's offense is that quarterback that can pull off those 10-plus yard runs. It sets that tempo, which he wants to go super fast. Despite the fact that West Virginia was struggling last year and only won 4 games, they were the fastest team in the nation in snapping plays off. And that's without the arsenal that he needed to have. Now you do it this year, and you've got dudes. The whole theory that he has is that by the time midway through the third quarter, fourth quarter comes, the other team is gassed, and you're running your snaps off. They're not ready to go, and that's how this thing cranks up.
I was looking at Our Lad's Guide to the NFL Draft. I've known them forever, mainly because they had what you would get ready for the draft and our coverage for the NFL. But they now have depth charts for the colleges. Now, that doesn't mean that they're completely 100% up to date, but you're right. Transfers are like an orange. And looking at West Virginia's roster, it's loaded with orange, as you said. So another just dozens of players. So how do you? I mean, I see what when I did junior college men's basketball for Tyler Junior College, and you know that they only have 2 years, although now I think you could play 8. But I'll never forget, early in the season, I would kind of get to know Tyler because there were some guys back. But when they played Panola, Jacksonville, Trinity Valley, whoever, Tony, I had to put something off to the side, a fro, a beard, whatever. There you go.
I literally just came back from practice. I go to practice every day, and I just sit there and I watch. And a guy makes a play, and I look at it and say, okay, that's that dude. Okay, I got that guy. And then I watch practice tape every day. I got to get in my head. You're right, man. Those days are gone. It's just they're different. It's gone. And going back to your initial point about the days of the independents, the sad and unfortunate thing is that great success that West Virginia had, 88 playing for the national title, and then the run that Rich had, and everyone knows they were on the precipice again of playing for the national championship. Those teams, unfortunately, would never have been able to stay together at West Virginia based on the current environment. And that, to me, really makes me sad. Basketball, same thing. Our Final Four team from 2010 wouldn't have stayed together. John Beeline's teams that had Kevin Pittsnoggle and that whole crew, they never would have been able to stay together because they would have gotten pulled apart by the portal, by agents, and all the other crap that we're into now. So that to me is the sad thing. I don't think it'll ever get back, that we have these wonderful relationships. As you said, you get to know these kids, you watch them grow up, and you see the development. Unfortunately, those days are done.
All right. I brought up Syracuse earlier. You're in the Syracuse Hall of Fame. You're West Virginia Hall of Fame. And your mentor was the great Jack Fleming?
Yes, absolutely. When I first got here, Jack Fleming is they retired the title. He is the voice of the Mountaineers. Obviously, he's passed on since, but he was the guy and a legendary announcer, not only in the circles of West Virginia, but Jack was also at the same time the voice of the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yep.
And he called the Steelers' first 4 Super Bowl championships with Terry Bradshaw, that whole crew. And for your listeners out there, they probably have heard Jack and don't know it. The amazing call of the Immaculate Reception by Franco Harris. That's Jack Fleming on that call. It's caught out of the air by Franco. And so one little really super side note to all of that, and you'll appreciate this as a play-by-play guy, David. The only way that call is what it is because his color analyst had already left the booth to do post-game interviews in the locker room because they thought that they had lost. And when that play actually happened, his analyst, Myron Cope, and Art Rooney, owner of the Steelers, were in the elevator on their way down to field level. And that's why there's no screaming over that call of the Immaculate Reception, which I find as a broadcaster one of the all-time great things to happen.
Yeah, I've done a lot of games, but I've not done that level. And again, Jack Fleming, I was in Japan when that game was going on, the Steelers and the Raiders. I remember, and the reason I bring that up is that in Japan, there was no internet.
Right.
It was the Far East Network, and they would put on a couple of games. It would be like 3 o'clock in the morning because I think it's a 13-hour difference. So a noon game would be 3 a.m. the next day. And I remember I used to listen. I was a sports freak, nut. I loved them, and I remember listening to that game on the radio on the Far East Network. That's crazy.
He was an unbelievable dude. He was shot out of a plane in World War II over France. He was a navigator and landed in a tree. Then was shipped back home and was a disc jockey at the military hospital, which is now the famed Greenbrier Resort. That's where they were putting military folks coming back over. Started DJing there, came back up to Morgantown, was the general manager of the radio station, did the Mountaineers back in the days of, he had the job for 44 years. He did Jerry West and that whole run. So, yeah, just an incredible guy.
Yeah, and we asked Michael DeHart, who's a huge West Virginia fan. We got viewers that watch. He asked me if Don Nehlen will hit. Are they thinking about naming the field after him?
I haven't heard that. He has his quote number retired, although a coach doesn't wear a number. The road adjacent to the stadium, that's Don Nehlen Drive.
Right.
I think nowadays, David, if anything else gets named in that stadium, as you know, there will be a dollar amount attached to it.
Absolutely.
That's probably the more likely answer.
All right. I know you got to go, and I appreciate your time. We had Keith Patterson on, who now is at Abilene Christian. He was at West Virginia. And I started looking at his resume. He was talking about what Abilene Christian's an FCS school, really good school, and a school that was a part of where I went to Stephen F. Austin back in the day in the same conference. And I think they're still in the same division or whatever. But I realized he was there in 2012 and 13 or 11 and 12 when they had 70-63 in 2012 against Baylor.
Yeah.
The Terrence Williams, Nick Florence, all the studs. What was his name?
On the West Virginia side, you had Geno Smith, Stedman Bailey, Tavon Austin, all those dudes.
Good Lord.
Well, you think, you can only imagine this. So West Virginia joins this league, which, at that time, you've been an Eastern Independent, you've been in the Big East Conference. Going to the Big 12 is like we were going to Mars, right? Like, what's this whole thing about? At that time, the perception was, well, all they do is throw it, which, it was a lot truer back then. And then all of a sudden you play your first game and it's 70-63 and you go like, man, they weren't kidding. But it was, well, offensively, it was fun. Defensively, that staff came out of that game and they said, oh my, do we have problems?
God. Yeah, they do. Phil Bennett always talks about that. Later, I guess that same year they lost to Texas 56-50. But if you win the game and you're the defensive coordinator, you don't care. You got to stop like 61-58 against TCU. Last question, Tony. Thank you so much. Voice of West Virginia Athletics. Does Rich Rod have the same fire at this time as he did back in the day?
Yes. To me, it's amazing. And I've known him. So my first year here was his last year as a player, that 84 season. So I've known him through the entire gambit of where he has been as a coach. He has not missed one beat. And let's face it, the reality of it is, man, he has an explosive personality, an explosive demeanor on the field. It reverberates in everything that this program is about, the culture, the hard edge that he talks about. I see zero softness whatsoever. I think, the way that it ended for him here the first time, as you know, struck up a lot of emotions. And the one thing that he wants to do is to get it back to where it was, because he only wants that departure from years ago as a very small footnote and not the storyline to his tenure at West Virginia. And that's what he's working toward. And I do think that the thing is heading in the right direction, and I think he'll get his wish.
Man, you're the best, Tony. Really, you're unbelievable. Where you've been, how you learned the business. It's great to get to know you. You and I have talked business together as much as anything else. Hope you're doing well, man. Hope you're doing
I appreciate the time, David. Thank you very much. We'll see you down the road.
Tony Caridi, voice of West Virginia Athletics, with us on 365 Sports. And S. Michael DeHart, appreciate a couple of the nuggets you put out for me to also ask Tony. All right, we appreciate your time. Hope you've enjoyed today's show. And we're not done. And Rez Michelangelo Flores has run the mothership from the start to finish. Garrett was here for a couple of hours, and you've been here hopefully from start to finish. We do appreciate you. Let's spin the wheel. What is the one household chore you will happily do and the one you will avoid at all costs? Well, one, I live in a condo. I'm in a condo by myself. And I'm not a clean freak, but I'm a clean freak. Craig is. He's not a germaphobe, but he's a clean freak. I do laundry like it's nothing. Like I'm the only one. But, in the morning I'll work out, so you have those clothes. Then what I wear throughout the day, and I'll probably go home and I'll put on a pair of shorts and a T-shirt or whatever for the rest of the day. I think I'm going to go out and have dinner here in a minute. But the one household chore you will happily do, I'll do laundry. I will do laundry. I have no problems doing laundry. And I am very particular, because I got to bring this up as a plug for my best friend Eric Horton at the Tyler Candle Company. Their detergent, what he has, the detergent, is freaking unbelievable. And I remember I was at a sponsor trying to get some payment plan for what they were doing as a sponsor of this show. And I was at the desk with Ben and his administrative assistant. And I walk in the door and I lean over to open up the laptop. She goes, "Diva." And I was like, no one's ever called me a diva before. They really, high maintenance, and that's another name of a fragrance. I said, "Diva?" She goes, you wash your clothes in Diva. It's one of the fragrances of the detergent that you get at the Tyler Candle Company. It's a phenomenal place located just a little bit north of Tyler. So I will do laundry. I'm very particular about it. I will do laundry, and I am anal about making sure that if I do, for example, this shirt, my slacks that are usually from Perk. If you ever bought slacks from Perk, I do it online, Perk, or shorts after I've played golf or whatever, or I have to hang them up after I put them in the dryer. I am like clockwork. And every once in a while, I'll like zone out, and I get so mad, it's all wrinkled, I'll have to redo it. But I'll do laundry all day long, all damn day long. I don't mind vacuuming either. But the one that I would want to avoid, of course, you don't want to go clean the toilets and bathroom. I'm not against it, and I do. But that's one. I have to put a couple of gloves on. I just don't want it like. And by the way, I'm the only one there, so it's not like any of that's dirty. I kind of keep it. Rez, what is the one household chore, Mr. Michelangelo, that you would happily do, and the one that you would rather not?
All of them.
You would rather not?
Well, let's see. What the one I happily do? I actually, that's a darn good question. I like vacuuming.
Vacuuming's
Sweeping
cool.
and vacuuming is kind of where I chill out. That's where I get in my zone.
Yeah.
If I'm stuck on a creative project, I can
get away and go vacuum.
Clear my head.
Yeah.
Sweeping, vacuuming. I'll put headphones on, listen to music. What do I hate? Gosh. It depends. Well, there are certain rooms I don't like to clean. Like the workshop is so cluttered right now. I dread getting in there.
I have a 2-bedroom upstairs, downstairs. It's a split level. It's a beautiful place and a very nice and spacious. But I keep it pretty clean. But laundry is something I could do that in my sleep. All right, there's the wheel. Thanks to Andrew Valet. Let's get to the quizzes now. I got to do this by myself. Last time I did go 2-0 when Craig was out for a day, and let's do this one. 1934, Babe Ruth, Lou Gehrig, and Jimmy Fox went on a legendary 18-game tour that drew massive crowds, directly inspired the founding of which nation's first professional baseball team? Man, Puerto Rico and Dominican, Japan, and Mexico's got good baseball too. And I remember watching professional baseball when I moved to Japan in 1972. There was no internet, there was no satellite, there was no direct TV or any of that. We watched Japanese TV. I watched the Japanese Baseball League right after Sadahara just retired. My favorite team over there was the Hanshin Tigers, and they had pretty much the same type of script that you see with the Detroit Tigers, which is a great, great logo. Founding, let me see. I have a lifeline that I'm going to go to the chat room. See everyone, Dominican, Japan. But see, it would have been when Japan, I don't know. That would have been before any kind of nuclear bomb, right, Rez?
Yeah, absolutely.
Of course
34.
it would have been. So I was wondering about that. And I'm going to say Japan, although I wonder if that's a long time, but I'm going to say Japan. Dang it. Thank you. Let's see. I was going to say it because I remember. I can tell you about Japanese, the Toyo Carp, the Yomiuri Giants. I got my fix watching Japanese baseball and got to know the players. I got to know the teams. Man, I loved it. It helped me because I couldn't sit there at, you just heard me talk to Tony Caridi. I had to get up at 3 o'clock in the morning to listen to an NFL game. The Far East Network would have 2 games, Cowboys or Steelers or whoever. And if Washington back in 72, they were good. They went to the Super Bowl, lost to Miami. That's what I got. But my fix as a sports crazed kid was watching Japanese baseball on TV where we lived in a couple of different places, Kanamura, and also on the base at Yokota. Managed by legendary Hall of Famer Connie Mack. We had a question about him earlier this week. 1934 tour was a total phenomenon. Over 500,000 fans lined the streets for Babe Ruth and the U.S. Stars. The tour's wild success inspired promoter Matsutaru Shiriki to launch the Great Tokyo Baseball Club, now the Yomiuri Giants, later that month giving birth to Japanese pro baseball. That's cool as hell. I love that because I Again, that was their 72-76. I loved that. And I used to get heavily involved in watching like 3 or 4 times a year, the sumo wrestling where Ozekis and Yokozunas and Magashiras, those were the titles at different levels. Yokozuna's the best wrestler. Sometimes you might have a couple of them, and you got to earn your way. Like your pet Cadigan, when it comes to you have to earn your way into the Super League. And we're going to do the Super League because I have an idea how to make that make a lot more sense now that he and I talked earlier in the week. So there we are, Japan. I'm 1-0. Let's go to the second one. On April 22nd, 2018, Giants hitter Brandon Belt. He's from Lufkin. He's from Lufkin, Texas. He played at Hudson High School in Lufkin. I'm almost positive. Set the modern Major League Baseball record for the longest regular season at bat. How many pitches did he face in an epic 13-minute battle? I'm going to have to guess here. I have no idea. I always don't think it's the first one. I also don't think it's the last one. I'm going to say it's 19. I hate Andrew sometimes. I just do. I mean, I'm now 1-1 because Belt and the Angels pitcher Jamie Barria engaged in a legendary 21-pitch duel in the top of the first inning. Top of the first, Belt fell behind, worked a 3-2 count, fouled off 16 pitches before finally flying out to right field. It broke Ricky Gutierrez's 1998 record of 20 pitches and stands as the longest regular season at-bat in Major League Baseball history. I'm going to look up Brandon Belt and make sure I'm almost positive I'm right because he played he was born in Nacogdoches, but I am almost 100% positive he played at Lufkin Hudson High School, and that's where he did. He played at Hudson High School, which is just a little bit outside of Lufkin, which is a place where I started my TV career. That's where I started my professional career in November of 1981. 1-1 today. Let's get to the poll results from Andrew. From your results, your questions and answers on these. Should athletes who sign professional contracts be allowed back to play college sports? 88% knew this would be a blowout, and it was. 88% no, keep the pros out. 280 votes, overwhelming. And like right now, it's back up in question again. So, the second poll result from today. How do you feel about Oklahoma giving Brent Venables a $10.5 million a year extension? I said, wait and see how 26 goes. But I'm in the middle. Well, I'm second here. Overpaid for one good season. I could have used that too. Again, if they go 9, 10, 11 wins, whatever, good, and then earned it. College football run proved it. Did it? I mean, did it? And then also a smart move for SEC stability. SEC stability, what if they're not 9-3 this year or better? But they did have a good year. But you know what? Did they? They got beat at home by Alabama. And listen, I have a lot of affection towards Oklahoma, even though they haunted Nebraska quite a bit back in the day with Switzer and Osborne. I still love Oklahoma as far as just the Big 8. So I hope they do well. Jennifer, she's huge. OU, even though she went to Tech. I know. And then Craig he's saturated with OU because his mom won that battle. I'm a Nebraska fan. Although when they were really good, they all loved that. But he earned it. College football run proved it at 15%. So those are the results. Good number, 344 votes on that particular poll question from Andrew. Paxton said he's overpaid. Jack Huffman, David is bald-headed. I am? Wait a minute. What's all this? Wait a minute. That's like, look, that's hair. I think Jack may be replacing MC Gusto in chat room prison after this. Jack Huffman, I am from East Texas too, David. Jack, let me know. I don't know where you're from, But I lived there. Went to Stephen F. Austin, went to Tyler Junior College. From 1976 until 2010, that's where I lived for college and then also for being what I did as a broadcaster. Tom Dean, for SEC stability, there are questions about OU making it in the SEC. I think, and Tom, thanks for the comment, I think in the end, even with the kind of a tough start they've had there, the 9-3 or whatever it was last year, I've never questioned. I'm not one of those that, they're not going to win in the SEC. First of all, the SEC didn't invent football. I know it's a great conference. We can go down that road again. There's no question. I know it's not hard, but it's OU. Like Nebraska lost some of their DNA when they left the Big 12. They also just suck when it comes to how the athletic department had been run the last 10 or 15 years. Now they feel like Troy Dannon's got a hold of that. But I was concerned they weren't very good when they moved to the Big Ten. They had the 2009 team with Ndamukong Suh. There's a reason why when you look at Oklahoma's history that they usually win a hell of a lot more than they lose with a few bumps and bruises. After Switzer was run out, they had Snellenberger, John Blake, and then Stoops took over, and they won for a long, long time. They had a blip with Venables. Lincoln Riley was good. There's a reason why they're among those top 4 or 5 schools of all time. They never have had a drought like you saw with UT after Mac Brown. They have never had a drought like Nebraska has the last 10, 15 years. So they're going to win. Now, are they going to win like they expect to win? That's one of the debates. Are teams that are blue blood fans, Ohio State, Alabama, Oklahoma, Texas, USC, those, are they ready to say that 9-3 is good? Because of who they play. Okay, take away the SEC bias of their schedule. That's still not what you're used to. It's not. So that'll be interesting. Paxton, Venables hasn't finished in the top 10 yet, has he? I don't know that. I don't think they did last year because they got blown out by Alabama. 25 years is the longest they have ever been between natties. It's over. All right, wet blanket. Rez, I know you want to get to the weekend. Wet blanket. 25 years for Oklahoma. Is that what you're saying? Okay. Do you know how long Texas had to wait until Vince Young pulled off Superman against USC in 2005? Do you know what their last national title was before that? 1970, a split national title that year with Nebraska. Nebraska, when they had Bob Devaney, won a national title back-to-back years, 70 and 71. Do you know the next time they won it? 94, 23 years. It happens. It happens. There are gaps. Do you know the last time Notre Dame won a national championship? 1988. We kind of discussed that team. That's 12. That's 37 years ago. Think about it. So Texas, Nebraska, OU, forever and ever. Length, all right? USC. They won it, a couple of years in a row, and then they were beaten by Texas in 05. So let's say 04, right? It's 22 years ago. That's USC. So it happens. It does happen. All right, so thank you very much. Appreciate just giving you a little bit of my Gary Gibbs. Don't forget, Gary Gibbs at least was okay. OU with Gary Gibbs was at least manageable. I know, but Snellenberger, who came over after the great run, the great building job he did at Miami, and then John Blake, it became a disaster. Gary Gibbs, I'm going to look this up just to make sure I got it right. Gary Gibbs at OU was, again, this is coming off of Switzer, who was phenomenal. 9-3. No, 7-4, 8-3, 9-3, 5-4-2, 9-3, 6-6. He never had a losing record. Snellenberger had 1 year. He was 5-5-1. Blake, 3-8, 4-8, 5-6, and gone. So Gibbs was actually at least okay. Not by OU standards, and that's why they made a coaching change. Man, all of you, thank you very much. I hope I was able to get in the chat enough with you. Hope you have a really wet blanket. Gibbs got canned for winning 10 games a year. That's not quite. I just gave you the numbers of wins that he had. Thank you. Rez, thank you. Thank you to our sponsors. Thank you to 365 Sports YouTube for you being a part of what we do every single day. And we're back on Monday. Phil Bennett's back with us on Monday. Have a great weekend. This is The Smoak Show. And Craig's back, too, on 365 Sports. Good night. It's time to compete against yourself, finding too many excuses not to work out combined with bad eating habits, and Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness can help reach inside your competitive soul. Discipline, getting results you've only dreamed about, personal training, group exercise classes, and even a tanning bed, world-class tennis facility, and pickleball courts and lessons available. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness, spacious, clean workout rooms, free weights, state-of-the-art technology, weight training equipment, and no intimidation. It's time for you to react today, not tomorrow, at Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness on Lakeshore Drive in Waco.
Make this the summer event at Allen Samuels in Waco. Get summer ready in a new Jeep Wrangler Sport. Your choice, 0% for 36 months or just $33,848. Want more truck and more fun? Check out the 2026 Jeep Gladiator Mojave. Your choice, 0% for 36 months or save $10,000. Take the top off and hit the road. Allen Samuels Jeep.
Come by, let's be friends.
Automatic Chef is your local vending, office coffee, and micro market provider, delivering outstanding service to break rooms all over Central Texas for over 50 years. Automatic Chef brings the best products to your location at the best prices. With hundreds of choices in fresh food, coffee, snacks, and drinks, make break time great again with Automatic Chef. Automatic Chef Canteen, 6900 Imperial Drive in Waco, or online at automaticchef.com.
This 5 o'clock hour is sponsored by Edward Jones Financial Advisors, Ben Erlinson and Brad Wilson in Waco, and Cam Heathcott in Conroe, with an individualized approach to addressing your financial needs, including education, savings, planning for retirement, and protection strategies. Edward Jones Financial Advisors, making sense of investing. Experience the difference for yourself.